Hunter for the Husker touchdown.
Who do you think you're fooling? Nobody's thinking about their job the day before a Husker game.
Backpedals the throw. Blitz picked up. Harris went out deep right sideline. 50-50 ball. It's picked off. The black shirts with the dagger. Malcolm Hartzog with a giant pick. Sails the night for the Big Red. Drifts back to throw. Dumps it to an underneath crosser. Goody made the catch. Got popped. Ball's loose, but they say incomplete.
This is the Friday Husker Tailgate with Jack Mitchell, Nate Rohr, John Bishop, and Kevin Suits on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3.
All right, greetings. Welcome in. It is the Friday Husker Tailgate. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Yes.
October 3rd. As you can see, I mean, we didn't come in costume to the degree any more than we, I guess, usually come in costume today. I don't know. Bishop's not here. Maybe he had to finish his like clown paint or something.
Yeah, maybe he's going
maybe
Ace
he's like
Frehley
tribute.
tribute.
Yeah, that'd be actually. I would like that. I would like him
that
to.
Seems like something.
I kind of want to do
might
that now. An Ace Frehley tribute. I like that.
Yeah.
Perhaps we'll get that from him. But John Bishop will join us shortly. Kevin Suits will join us during the 8 o'clock hour. We've got a lot to get to today. Obviously, not only are you coming up to a huge game tomorrow with a really unique situation, just in terms of the game itself, the uniforms, sort of the way it's been marketed, the exhortations to the crowd to be unruly, whatever, fired up to be a real home field advantage. So you've got that. And then, of course, you've got the news of yesterday leading up, 2 days before the game?
Yes.
And Matt Rule's extension and what apparently it indicates that he will not be going to Penn State and will be, at least for the time being, at Nebraska. And if he's not at Nebraska in the coming years, it means somebody is exchanging a significant amount of money associated with that. So we will get into all of that today. We'll have fun with all of that. I want to take just like 3 minutes at the beginning of the show because this is for me. This is for me. I understand there are going to be people who watch this. I'll probably clip it afterwards and post it, and every reply will be like, nobody cares. Jack, go cry. Those sorts of things, and whatever. Fine. This is for me.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know John's talked about this already. I have not on the air. I mainly have through snarky tweets, which I think in part regret a little bit. I would say, but it may be that a lot of people don't even know, which is fine. Don't know about this, but there were some public references to it, and that was originally a story 2 nights ago that came out that was written by one of our colleagues here at NRG Media that essentially broke the story of the contract extension. It was pretty scant on details. It essentially said a contract extension was signed. John's co-host, Josh Peterson, who joins us on Fridays on Drive Time Lincoln, wrote it. He had good sources. It ended up being right, although there's some dispute as to whether it was physically signed or whether it was just an agreement had been come to. At that point, Matt Rule referenced during the press conference he was disappointed that it had come out the night before. And listen, and this is all that I'm not going into a whole lot of detail about this. If I'm being completely honest, I'm disappointed about how it was handled behind the scenes in a few situations. I'm not outlining it. I'm not embarrassing anything. I'm not doing any of that. I'm disappointed in that. That's it. I was frustrated with that yesterday. I also need to admit, there's one other thing that I realized I need to admit, because it is partially about thinking that a colleague wasn't treated completely fairly. So I think that's a part of it. And then I think there's probably deep down, and this is me admitting my own ego, I think, on some things. But I will say this affected this, and this probably had nothing to do with it. But I will tell you what, I am I'm disappointed that we have not, as the morning show on the flagship affiliate of the Husker Sports Network. I'm just kind of bummed a lot of times we don't have I don't have more of a relationship on this show with specifically the football program, the coaching staff, the head coach, and that goes beyond this regime. Actually, Matt Rule came in, and I was really excited about how I thought that was going to change, to be honest, and made some efforts that way. And it hasn't. I'm being totally honest. And there's a lot of it that could be my own fault. But I'm disappointed. I am disappointed with that, and I think that has played in to my reaction to it as well. I think I've been frustrated in the past when I've heard those connections with other entities that shouldn't have the connections right directly with the athletic department. Nate, I don't want to say anything that gets you in trouble here. So,
I hear you.
So, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Lower rated entities. I mean, let's be honest. We're doing well, right? We're I mean, I don't know how to say this without sounding like we're kind of the city's morning show,
Right.
I mean, the numbers kind of don't lie about it. And so I've been really disappointed about that. And I've really been fascinated and loved and been excited and was advocating for Matt Rule to sign this extension. And I think if those relationships were there, this would have went down a little bit differently, or could have perhaps, but that's in the weeds a little bit. And so all of that said, while that feeling does exist, I probably let that creep in a little bit to my reaction yesterday. Right or wrong, probably wrong. And I am making I guess I'll just come out and say it. I have reached out through intermediaries, and this isn't going to happen today or tomorrow. It shouldn't. But I've reached out through intermediaries, and I'm hoping to sit down with Matt Rule and talk to him about this and get it out of the way, so I don't do it passively aggressively anymore on that part of it. But that's not what the whole story was about yesterday. That's what my reaction was about yesterday, and there's a whole lot more to it beyond that. But here's the thing: I have tickets to the game. I am an unabashed fan. I am somebody who is comfortable and does that openly. I'm having a hard time this week. I've got tickets with my family to go Saturday, and yesterday I was like, I don't even want to, and that's stupid. It's stupid. And so I want to the reason I'm saying something now is I want to flush it. I really do. And so hopefully this does that for me. If you don't care, I'm sorry. I get it if you don't too. It shouldn't have overshadowed yesterday. It didn't overshadow yesterday. It was a little thing yesterday for 99% of people. Turned out to be a big thing for me and the people around me. And some people I care about a lot too. And again, I was disappointed about how some things happened. It wasn't the end of the world. So I'll say that. And maybe just leave it at that. John, I know you've said your piece on that, but I had a little bit of a different angle on it I wanted to get out there, which I know you understand too. Yeah. I would have preferred it if I could have heard your opinion from George Stephanopoulos. But there you go. There's my one snark of the day. I would like to hear. Listen. Let me say one more thing. That made me think of one more thing. All right. I value local media. Yeah. I value local media, especially today. Yes. This week, I value local media. I hope we lost a lot of friends. The athletic department values local media. Yeah. We've lost a lot of friends down the street in recent weeks. A lot of people have had to leave. It's not over. And it's not over. And that's a little scary. So yeah. Well said. That's it. Sure. That's what I. So part of it's a mea culpa. Part of me, it is saying I was disappointed, but that doesn't need to be. I can handle that privately. And hopefully I will. And I want to continue being a fan. I am excited about Matt Rule signing. People, we can debate that. And here's a funny thing. I've gone back and forth with people who disagree with me on that the last several days. Sure. and defending Matt Rule and saying, I think they need to hang on to him. Not everybody thinks that. I do, oddly enough.
Yeah, I thought the sort of conflicted nature of I heard from people too that said, hey, it shouldn't be a priority to hang on to Matt Rule. What's he done so far anyway? But here's what you have to look at with him. The trend line is going up. Things are getting better. And in this brave new world of college football, you have a guy who seems to like coaching you. You as a fan base like him. We have certainly seen the alternative here.
Yep. Yes. I thought he was the anti of that in some ways. Yeah,
indeed.
Like he was an antidote to the things that ailed in the past have ailed this program in that area.
And as you look at the college football landscape, there are a lot of reasons why James Franklin should still be the Penn State head coach. Just that whole relationship between fan base and coach, fan base, administration, coach got toxic. Brian Kelly was a bad fit at LSU, but he's still a really good coach. So when you have a coach that feels like a good fit, that feels like he's taking you down the right road in the right direction, you got to fight to keep him. I mean, and you look at it from the Nebraska standpoint, do we really want to play Coach Roulette again? I mean, do you really want to spin that wheel again and go, well, hopefully, and hopefully your first choice comes and he's in and he gets in early enough to build you up again. But, this fan base coaching searches, changes are traumatic. And this fan base has seen sort of when it works, when you go 2 head coaches in 36 years, and when it doesn't work, when you're changing coaches every 4 years. And so, trying to build some stability in this program, I think it's only a good thing, especially when Matt Rule this year has shown progress. And when you dial it back to last year, he's shown the willingness to adjust and to change. It might be one thing if you looked at it and you said, okay, the secret sauce finally started cooking. He's changed coordinators. He's brought in great staff. He's got a facility now. So it feels like he has adapted into success. And, that's a valuable skill too. So I felt like it was important that Nebraska kept him. I mean, there is a financial line. If he was asking for $20 million a year or whatever, just being nuts, that's one thing. But it felt also like Troy Dannon was able to be very responsible financially in how he set this up, at least in the realm of college football.
Yeah, 2 things can be true at the same time. The first thing is, yes, athletic departments spend like drunken sailors. And I did see a lot of that yesterday. It seems like there's a call out there to, we got to put an end to this. Folks, there's not an end to this. The only end to this is a complete and total and improbable restructuring of the entire financial model. And nobody wants that because it will require, a lot of programs going away. No responsible business works like this. But this business, major college athletics, exists in a different bubble. Yeah. This isn't responsible business. This is a game of poker. Mm-hmm. And a couple of weeks ago, Penn State raised the ante. And so what we saw yesterday from Troy Dannon, what we saw a couple of weeks ago or a week ago or whatever it was from Indiana was, okay, we'll call you.
Yeah.
And because you don't want to be left with a good hand, but no coach.
Yeah.
And especially in this cycle, I mean, think of all the jobs that are open right now. It's Penn State, it's Florida, it's UCLA, it's Virginia Tech, it's
LSU. It could be Arkansas.
It could be, and there could be others.
It could be Texas,
you've got a
Texas
lot of
could come
Wisconsin.
Open. You got a lot of, which means for the job seekers, the ones at the top of the list, it's a bull market.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily want to be in that group. And then to all the points you just made, Nate, about he likes being here, you like having him here, you are trending in the right direction. These are things that has to happen. So two things can be true at the same time. That said, I thought in reading the contract yesterday that instead of just going in with the giant, here's an extra $5 million or whatever a year, it was performance based. The salary as of right now has not changed.
Yeah. Yes,
there have been 2 more years added on at a cost of $12.5 million, which is what the last year's salary of the former Matt Rule deal was. But you've got him for an extra 2 years. The only time the salary goes up is if the team performance goes up. Right. And the team performance means making the college football playoff. Yeah. Is the buyout more expensive right now? It is. But you also got the assurances that Matt Rule's not going to be leaving this year for the job that a lot of people feared he might leave for eventually one day. So I think all things considered, this was in the bubble of college sports.
Right.
This was a well-structured deal, in my opinion.
And Matt Rule talked about this and has talked about this a couple of times, that Nebraska's always kind of given themselves a little boost that they've done more with less. I mean, Tom Osborne was always underpaid. And even though assistant coaches stayed here forever, it wasn't like even the assistant coach pool was all that big, and the facilities were always good, but they weren't. It wasn't like they had mini golf courses in there, and
we said Cool Crest back in 1989.
You don't need to tell me.
Rest in peace. But
for now,
that there's been a reluctance by Nebraska fans to spend on Nebraska football.
Yeah,
and the unfortunate truth is the way that Nebraska wins is that all that passion and all that care and all the refreshes on the message boards, that turns into money that gets sent in. And that's Nebraska's best weapon in the battle to be a relevant college football program. And as rough and as uncomfortable as the numbers being thrown around are, and sort of the larger picture of what is being spent and committed to Nebraska football juxtaposed against what is going on economically in the state and what is going on specifically with the university, the fact of the matter is the thing that will help the university the most is a winning football program. Winning football program equals more money coming into the university, equals better picture for even the academics. So, as much as you might be uncomfortable with all the spending and, oh my goodness, we're giving this guy 2 years for going to one bowl game and he's 6-2 this year. At the same time, if things fall off, it gets real ugly real quick.
Have any of these huge buyouts, and I know we've seen 2 of the 3 biggest in the last 2 weeks, 50 million. Jimbo's was bigger at 75 or 8.
75, yeah.
Have they ever bankrupt one of these places? Because normally there's somebody
because guess what? They keep rolling it back and doing it again.
Right.
And in
someone
some cases,
else, a private party.
There's usually a private party, or that's the thing. A fool and his money can be easily parted. So I guess it's crazy how a lot of these end up getting paid out. It ends up just being one giant donation just to get rid of somebody.
Yeah.
It's crazy that people are motivated to the point that they're willing to spend that much of their own money just to fire somebody.
Here's why that might change, though. Because nobody's going to quit doing it if it doesn't have all of that many adverse effects, right?
Right.
You got somebody who's going to write the check.
Sure.
You had somebody at Texas A&M. I bet that wasn't that hard.
Right. It's different. If we got to fire our football coach, we have to get rid of softball.
Exactly.
That situation hasn't happened.
But now there may be more of an opportunity cost than there used to be because of the ability for the school to do revenue matches for NIL. Would that money have been earmarked for other places within the football program? pay players.
Well, that was the
essentially.
theory. Well, now that they have to add this new line item, the athletic departments are going to have to spend more responsibly, but that hasn't been the case. I mean, we've started the rev share era, and schools are on the hook for a cumulative I think it was $160 million of the coaches that have been fired in this cycle. So it hasn't changed it yet. And my gut tells me it's not going to change anytime soon.
And I think, and then the thing about Nebraska is compared, well, like Texas A&M, I picked, for instance, is, I mean, let's be honest. There's one big donor or one family of big donors that gets referenced a lot, and I can't name the next one, right?
Right. It's the Pede family and everybody else.
And I don't say that to be critical of them. No. I'm just saying there doesn't sound like there's a lot of a backstop there, right?
Correct.
Right. And like, again, they've given obviously very generously. They made huge impacts to be able to do that, but it's like at some point, if you're them, you're going to be like, all right, is there anybody else who's going to help out?
Yeah, we got to keep the lights on. And you know, you have had some of the bigger money people in Omaha pass away recently. I mean, you think of Howard Hawks. Howard Hawks' name is on two athletic buildings, and then the business college. You wonder if someone like him would have been more involved if he were alive. But this will be the uphill climb for Nebraska. As passionate as we are about this team, the fact of the matter is there's not big money in the state of Nebraska other than one guy who, other than Warren Buffett, who has said, I'm not giving to athletics because heaven forbid giving to causes that actually help the world are of greater priority to him. I mean, it's going to be tough for Nebraska to be able to trot out $1 million NIL deals when there aren't that many millionaires here.
Yep. That'll be one of the things that they've got to reckon with going forward. And then, let me say this too, because I know there are some people out there who didn't like this yesterday. I mean, the extension of the contract. And like, I just want to be clear, and I'm not saying you can't say this in the coming months, years, but Nebraska, and hopefully they don't, but if Nebraska gets off to a rough start in 2026, they've got a tough schedule. Like, they're not firing him next year, guys. Like, no. Like, it's not. No, I know there are always people who want coaches fired, and I tend to be way the opposite of that. I think this program needs some stability. Again, like I said at the beginning of the show, I've been one of the people pushing for this. That said, I know what reality is, and if things go bad on Saturday, there are going to be people, right? Sure. Or if things go bad 3 of the next 4 games, there are going to be people. I'm just warning, and I'm not saying you can't express your opinion, but don't get your hopes up, because that ain't happening.
No, it's not. This was a protection against that as well. I mean, Matt Rule is here to stay for the foreseeable future. Right. It does beg the question, the timing of this, given you've got a very important game this weekend and a game that you're not favored to win. That now there's 2 sides of that coin. There's the side that says
also, it just came off a win.
You came off a win, and you have a big recruiting weekend, and you want to reinforce to the people that are your future or could represent your future that this is going to be your leadership structure moving forward. So you want that. Then the other side of it is what you just mentioned, and that is the optics of it. If the month of November goes poorly or at least substandard, and you go, well, why did we have to do this? This wasn't necessary. So I get both sides. The narratives have already been written for this weekend. I keep saying that, and I get tired of saying that. But if Nebraska wins, there's going to be a lot of people saying, man, that was a perfect time to do it. They were motivated because of it. Or if they lose, it'll be, well, another distraction week, like Minnesota 2 weeks ago. And I can't argue against or for either side. But again, we kind of laid out, why it was done, why in the current scope of things it had to be done. And you have to live with the consequences, good or bad. You live with the consequences. And so what you hope for right now is the continued long-term upward trend of the program, knowing those of you who play the stock market know that a continual upward trend also has a few moments where it takes a dip and then comes back up. But over time, the arrow is going in an upward direction, generally speaking, not a downward direction.
Well, you talked about the importance of this weekend in terms of recruiting. That's why you announced it this week.
Yeah.
Because you want to be able to sit there in front of all those guys that presumably constitute the continuation of that upward trend and say, fellas, Matt Rule's the head coach now. Matt Rule's going to be your head coach when you sign, and Matt Rule's going to be the guy shaking your hand on senior day.
By the way, he had been already saying that. It just wasn't official too.
Right.
Which is part of the whole thing about, like, it was not a great kept secret,
No.
right? That it was trending this way.
Yes.
What would have been interesting is had they lost to Northwestern.
Ooh,
Like,
yeah.
What do you still do it? Do you still do it? And then going to these USC game,
Right?
Like where you're an underdog,
Yeah.
and then what? Then the games start getting few. You go to UCLA, right? You go to Penn State, and you want to get it done before the Penn State game, I'm sure, especially.
Yes. Yeah, that's the other thing we haven't talked about yet. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. That Penn State 2 weeks, because remember the idle week is prior to Penn State, could have been very uncomfortable around here. And could have been very contentious around here if there was still uncertainty. Well, that's off the table.
Yeah.
Right.
Now it just becomes a fascinating sidebar, to see Matt Rule on the sideline, knowing that he's going to be dressed in red for the next few years, and there's not much of a chance of him, wearing Penn State colors. So, I think that's another benefit to all of this, that, that's 2 weeks of consternation. If you get worked up like the guy sitting to my right about these things, that's 2 weeks of consternation that can only be focused on the volleyball team, the start of the men's basketball season, and are we going to beat Penn State?
There you go. Let's take a break. Let's hear from the sound off. I think Nate's got a bunch of stuff for us to listen to and react to. You have got it tuned in to the Halloween edition. Friday Husker Tailgate. Speaking of volleyball, 8:00 tonight.
Yes.
Right here. First serve, 7:00 pregame. Special guest color commentator. Have people heard this?
John Cook.
John Cook and John Baylor teaming up on the radio for the first time ever, at least calling a game. So that will be interesting. 6:33, you're listening to LNK Today and the Friday Husker Tailgate on KLIN.
Peacocks belong in the zoo, not your billing statement. Every Husker game is free on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN. back to the Friday Husker Tailgate. But first, your Fantasy Huskers keyword, presented by Nebraska Sign Company from Lincoln's Husker Radio. 9-3 KLIN.
All right, it is time for Fantasy Huskers. The penultimate keyword of this USC week. The question this week, John, how many passing yards does USC accrue against the Nebraska defense? The number one, the best pass defense in college football, as our friend, the late Greg Sharp, might have said. That is the question. Now, real quick, the keyword for those who are waiting to text it in on the Hunt Irrigation text line, 402-479-1400, is Bush, B-U-S-H, Bush. Now, here are the guesses. I'm going to try and do them in ascending order here. The lowest was Sean. He said 157. I will sign up for that.
Boy.
I will sign up for that right now. 157. Second lowest was Catfish Chris at 195. The third lowest was Cindy, 237. David had 247. Then we had Ruth, who had 285. I'm trying not to miss anyone here as I eyeball this. Then Rob was the most recent pick, 304. Lori picked 323. And then you had Kevin D, who was way up there at 340 yards. Yikes, if that happens. Okay, so text in Bush. We'll pick one of you, text you back, one of you, and ask you how many yards you think USC will put up in the air against Nebraska. And if you're the exact right or closest, you're going to get those gift certificates from Alumni Hall, from Big Ten Sports Bar and Grill, from Rubidoo, all brought to you by Nebraska Sign Company. And one more pick this afternoon on Drive Time Lincoln, where, by the way, we will do the Super Friends Roundtable for the second half of the show with the aforementioned Josh Peterson sitting next to me, John Bishop, and myself, and get our final thoughts on this Halloween night before the game. So there you go. Nate, what do we got interested in where you are going today? Because there is probably a lot. What are we doing?
Yeah, so let's just dive into Rule's sort of reaction and where he went after the announcement of the extension. This is Matt Rule talking about just his opening thoughts on the extension.
I'd just like to, I think in moments like this, you should always start with gratitude. And I'm very, very, very grateful to Troy Dannon, to President Gold, to the board for their confidence in me and us, our staff. Very grateful to my wife and kids who allowed me to do this job and moved here. Very grateful to the fan base. I'm very grateful to the city of Lincoln and the state of Nebraska. This has become our home, and we love it here. And most importantly, I'm grateful for our players. You know, I was at a point 3 years ago when they hired me here where I'd gone through something hard. And I know people sometimes think, well, you're well compensated for it, but I can just tell you those things can break people. And, you know, I've rediscovered my love of this game and coaching and all that with these guys that are here. And so, you know, this process went on. I think I was really honest with you guys the first day. We've wanted to be here and we expect to be here for a long time. And we have much, much, much more to do. And we're not pleased with where we are, but we are pleased with the direction we're headed. And I think that's hopefully a message that we can send to all of the recruits, all the players, that this is the place to be. And we want to be here.
So just kind of his 30,000 foot view, you know, it comes through that he really likes being here. And as a guy who has seen a lot of different places, whether it's Philadelphia, whether it's State College, Waco, Charlotte, you know, all the stops in his assistant coaching trip, the fact that he likes living here, I think, is a big point in Lincoln's favor.
Yeah, absolutely. We do too. I do too. It's cool. It's, you know, it's one of the things. It goes back to the beginning. Like it's cool. It's exciting hearing him say those things because, like I said, there's a lot of coaches who haven't said those things. Right. To be honest, like he says so many of those things that I'm like, man, finally, right? Finally. Yeah. And I know that, you know, there's a whole lot of other things that goes into being a coach, but like for me, he feels like in some ways the most relatable. This is just me personally, relatable coach, and that probably gives him some extra brownie points right, with me that might not be there otherwise for other coaches as well. But yeah, it feels good to hear that, right?
Sure.
Like, let's not mince words. If you, whether it's the state or the city or the university or any of these things,
Mm-hmm.
like there's some real validation, I think, for people for that. And whether they think it's, I mean, like if you've committed to it, you can say that at the beginning, right? Easily, and kind of be self-serving,
and
right?
be done with it. Yeah.
People I think sometimes think, hey, Rule is he can talk a good game, right? Well, kind of put his money where his mouth is in some ways here with this whole thing. Like,
yeah, this is kind of unusual, right? We've never heard of this much platitudes being thrown towards the community, mainly because with Osborne, with Solich, it was always implied because they were from here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you didn't need to hear it. But the world of college sports can be very very parochial. And when someone comes in from the outside, Devaney was very good about talking about how much he enjoyed his year, and he was an outsider. So when you hear, the things that are being said and the things that are being done, you read about the things that are being done, particularly with what Matt Rule and his family have done here, it is a reassurance. It's one that you don't have to have all the time, but it's occasionally nice just to get it's basically a pat on the back. It's a pat on the back for the city of Lincoln, for the community, for the state, that it's good to be here. And it's nice to hear that.
But just to be clear too, I references at the beginning of the show in some ways, Matt Rule felt just the opposite of so many things that I heard from 2 of the 3 last coaches, let's just say.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm pretty sure 2 of the 3 last coaches pretty much didn't like didn't like living here.
Right.
Made it pretty clear after the fact.
Yes.
Yeah.
I appreciate that about Matt Rule. Right. And I think, and now I believe him again. I believe him. Right. Because he's made that commitment.
I do think it's authentic. It also helps in this day and age where you're going to boosters and you're saying, hey, we need a little more direct commitment here. It makes them feel like we're all in this together. We both love our town. We both love our state. Let's try and make it great. One other cut, you were talking about other things that factor into a working relationship. And a big factor would be the people you work for. Troy Dannon, the athletic director, Dr. Gold, the president of the university system. And Matt Rule talked about working with those guys, especially when neither hired him in the first place.
When you're a head coach and they bring in another athletic director, he didn't hire you. And so for Troy to come to me with this, I think he started talking to me like week 3 and really maybe just say, hey, let's talk about this. Let you know that you're his coach, and the same way with Dr. Gold. I mean, lots of people, they're there for those good moments. After we lost to Minnesota, Dr. Gold, as I'm walking off the field, runs up to me, shakes my hand and says, he came in the locker room. I mean, you don't find that very many places. And so for me, I know everyone wants to win, but usually people have different ideas of how to do it. And everyone wants to win until it gets really hard. And then people have a tendency to back away. And what we have here is we have people that are willing to do the hard things and invest. I think from the very first day I got here, it was like, hey, I know the optics are going to be, why are you hiring this many people? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? But you can't live in optics. You have to live in, hey, college football is changing, and this has been do or die time for universities, and the alignment we have and the willingness to invest in the program, to invest in the facilities. And I think you're seeing a great time in the Husker athletics.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot there. It's interesting because, like, first of all, he got that little part in, which is what he said a couple of weeks ago, right? I mean, referring to the optics, right? And the word optics came up, just so people realize, the word optics came up, particularly when the athletic department said they were going to hold off on taking the stadium before the Regents, because it happened to be the same time here in a month when the Regents are going to look at making $25 million in cuts to the academic side of things, and the word optics was involved, and that's, I believe, why he continues to bring that up. It will be interesting to see now that you've got some stability for a number of years that you have not had here since the late aughts, since 2011 or so.
Yeah.
How that changes the willingness to invest in things like the stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as he's talked about it and the importance, I would be surprised if early in 2026 we don't have some kind of a map here in terms of what's going to happen with the stadium in particular.
Yeah,
I think it'll be a pared down map.
I don't know what it'll be exactly, but it will be a plan going forward.
There will
that
be
is
some
no
kind
longer
of a
sky.
plan that will have a lot of revenue generation attached to it. You're not going to be doing any projects that don't have revenue generation attached to it.
Yes. All right, moving on.
Yeah, some other thoughts from Matt Rule yesterday, and we talked about this too, and this plays into the idea that he likes being here, which is a factor, and he also has some scars. I mean, he left a Temple program on the rise. He left a Baylor program on the rise. He feels really good about the program he's built here. Doesn't want to leave it.
I've left too many teams. I left too many players, and the players always understood, and they were always grateful to me. I could not leave these guys. I love this team, and I love this group, and I love where we're headed. I love the recruits. Every recruit that called me when my name started, I said, I'm not going anywhere. There's been no so this was for, and I think people minimize like that woman right there. Like, she's moved all over creation for me, and she's done everything for me. Like, she loves it here. My kids love it here. I love it here.
Simple enough.
Yeah, there you go. It was interesting too what you said there at the beginning, Nate. At some point, listen, you've got this reputation of being a builder, but I think one of probably the joys of being a builder is seeing it through to completion, right? And he hasn't really done that in at least in the stops, right? In the college stops.
Hasn't had a chance to see how far can we go with this thing.
Because he's moved on to a new opportunity.
Yeah. And that he's proven he can take bad programs and make them good.
Right.
Can you take a program you have made good and make it great? That is the continuing challenge still out there for him. Now he gets to see.
And I guess it says something about I think he wouldn't do it unless he believes it's possible. I think he can. Sure. He thinks he can go places here that he couldn't at Baylor, for instance.
Oh, certainly. Certainly.
And, which is encouraging.
And perhaps he sees the potential of going places here that he saw as a more difficult path at Penn State.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I can see that in a number of ways.
Or the expectation at Penn State is at the point where it's a little ahead of the timeline he thinks he can achieve to get there.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes the timelines just aren't practical. They're not doable.
Yeah.
Right. There's some unrealistic expectations on coaches.
Penn State fired a coach who was in the playoff semis 9 months.
And by the way, Curt Cignetti screwed that up for everyone.
Yes, he did.
Right.
Yeah. Bob Stoops reset the market back in 1999, 2000 when he won a title in 2 years after what Oklahoma had gone through in the late 90s. That reset the market, a market of expectation, not so much the financial market. Curt Cignetti is doing that today. Curt Cignetti is causing headaches for a lot of people, and it's not just the next team on Indiana's schedule.
Yeah. But, how many people can really do that?
Yeah, it's rare.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably rare, but everyone is going to be.
Everybody.
I still don't know how he did it. Like, every week they play, even this year, I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like every single week, and at some point, it feels like the dream is going to be over with Indiana.
The guy's a warlock.
I don't.
He just has
part of it. A little bit part of it was his ability to bring so many players from it that he coached from a team that was better than people realized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there's still a lot more to it than that too.
So, right.
All right. Let's see. Maybe got time for one or two more here.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about contracts, Matt Rule, extension, future. There's a nationally ranked opponent coming into Lincoln. And Rule was asked how the week of practice went.
It's been a great week. It's been freezing cold, and we've been outside the whole time. And the guys have attacked it and embraced it. Sometimes I think people think like, well, coach, you're from the north. You're not. We're all just as cold. but the guys are showing toughness and resilience, and they've worked on their fundamentals and techniques. As you get late in the year, there's a great guy. If you guys don't follow Dan Casey, Coach Dan Casey on Twitter, you should. He's one of the best people in terms of football follows, and he had a great thing about reteaching scheme, reteaching fundamentals. Like, I keep talking to our guys about don't let the creep come in of you're just used to be like this low, and now you're a little bit higher because you're tired late in the year. And I feel like the guys have embraced this week of just getting back to fundamentals. You're playing a team this week coming off a bye, so you're a little banged up. They're fresh. You better be dialed in, and they've been dialed in all week.
Yeah, it will take a good amount of toughness tomorrow. As Rule mentioned, it's going to be kind of a cooler night, not terribly cold. They'll see colder later in the year probably, but
I mean, I'll probably still wear shorts.
Yeah, you're gutsier than me.
You're going to be inside, man.
No, that's true. That's true.
Both of you are up in the ivory tower.
That's right. Back in the ivory tower.
I think we're in the north end zone.
Woo, okay.
We're up there where you
Well,
can
the good news
feel
is
the wind.
Well, there's not going to be much wind, so
That's true.
Yeah,
that's
that'll
not going to
help.
be so bad.
But it could help Nebraska just from the standpoint. I mean, USC, how often are they dealing with conditions? And
I want to discuss that further in the morning drive. Yeah, I was a little bit surprised to hear him. I mean, he is a northern guy. Like,
yeah.
On the other hand, so I give him crap for that, like Tim talking about the cold. And then I go outside, and the first time that north wind hits you, you're like, oh, God, I hate winter immediately. So
exactly.
I'm being a bit hypocritical on that. It's fair to say.
It's a double-edged sword, but you feel like it'll affect USC. They, like I said, they don't play many cold weather games. And, when you're a program like them that slings the ball around and maybe don't want to get in the trenches the way Nebraska maybe should in this game, we shall see.
Let's hope so.
But maybe it's an advantage for Nebraska. Of course, Matt Rule is the most weather-conscious coach maybe in college football history.
You got time for one more, Nate? You want to do one more and then call it good?
Yeah. So we've talked about where the program is. Matt Rule was asked, well, how far is this program from reaching that next step, the college football playoff?
We have everything now in place to move forward, right? I think we have an amazing coaching staff. We have the build, like you think about it, this 2026 class and really 2027, this is the first recruiting class that didn't have to wear hard hats at some point to walk through the building. Like, so I know everyone's like, oh, you have a great building, but like we unveiled it to really this summer to most people. Like the 7-on-7, that was the first time people really saw it. So now all of a sudden you're starting to, like, you see our 2027 class is going to be killer. And it's like, yeah, because they've seen this now. They've been raised in it. So I think we're poised to go compete at the highest levels. And the thing is, the mark's going to keep changing, Sam. Like, everything, the rules are going to change. Everything's going to change. And it's just going to be like, it's my belief in Troy, my belief in his vision and Haven's vision and all the people that I work with, that no matter what as the mark moves, that we'll keep being the ones trying to chase it, not waiting to see how everybody else chases it and say, okay, let's go do it.
Yeah. So I think that speaks to a little more aggressiveness in just how they continue to pursue being better as a program and trying to fund this thing, because they, money equals wins eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, Texas A&M historically kind of breaks that equation, but generally speaking, the more resources you have, the more you'll win. And Matt Rule feels confident that he's got more or less what he needs to win.
Yeah. All right, there we go. Should we grab our break, Nate? Is that good? Let's do our break. We got helmet sticker. Hey, helmet stickers after a win, guys. Woo! All right. Way more fun.
Yeah.
Well, way more fun.
Yeah, I mean, it has happened 6 times.
Yeah, it's true. I know. It's just been a week. So it's been a week. So we will do that. Like, I think, well, it'll be interesting to see how duplicative we are this week. So we'll have that coming up. Also, count down the 5 things that we're talking about this Husker weekend. 8:00 hour. Kevin Suits, if he isn't, if he's not groggy after the big Ken Shimmick goodbye party last night that they had at 10-11.
Oh, man, I bet that thing's just wrapping up.
Yeah, probably true. Probably true. So we'll see.
I think I saw Ken Shimmick stumble across the set at 10-11 moments.
There we go.
ago.
Just walking aimlessly.
Stumbled across the Ken Shimmick studio.
There we go.
That's true.
6:57 right now, 38 degrees on KLIN.
Huskers.
Throws up the wall. Blocking better than cholesterol tonight.
Think 1499.3 KLIN.
Raiola takes a snap, fade route, back run to the end zone. Touchdown, Huskers! Isaiah Hunter for the Husker touchdown.
Who do you think you're fooling? Nobody's thinking about their job the day before a Husker game.
Pedals the throw, blitz picked up. Harris went out deep right sideline. 50-50 ball. It's picked off. The black shirts with a dagger. Malcolm Hartzog with a giant pick. Sails the night for the Big Red. Drifts back to throw, dumps it to an underneath crosser. Goody made the catch, got popped. Ball's loose, but they say incomplete.
This is the Friday Husker Tailgate with Jack Mitchell, Nate Rohr, John Bishop, and Kevin Suits on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome in. Gotta clear my throat. Sorry, let's try that again. Let me clear my throat. Welcome in to the Halloween edition, big game edition. The future is locked down edition of the Friday Husker Tailgate. Glad to have you with us. Nebraska, USC coming up. I'm Jack Mitchell, Nate Rohr on my right, John Bishop on my left, Kenny Larrabee running the production of Blacked Out, by the way. Look at Kenny with the branding, guys, on the video today. He has, under no obligation to do so, he has gone with the black branding that Nebraska will have on the uniforms and the end zones and everything else here. So check that out on the video. You can do it on the KLIN Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube pages, or my Twitter page if you would like to do that. So great job, as always, by Kenny and making our production look good here on the video. Kevin Suits will join us, as I said, in just about an hour as well. Look forward to having him in here in his predicted or his position and perspective. Goodness sakes, it's been a long week. His perspective on everything that happened during the course of this week, and plus, he's had a big week in his own workplace as well with 10-11. So I'm sure we'll hear a little bit about that too.
Before we dive too deep, hi to everybody in the chat. Greetings to Crypto King and Art in LA and Danny Havoc, among others. Glad everybody's along with us. Artie's in there. You betcha, man.
Oh man.
Full crew.
Love it. Thank you guys. We got like a West Coast crew here.
Yeah, how about that?
It's pretty fun. Appreciate those
Well,
guys.
I mean, it is a West Coast game.
That's true.
That's right.
I know. Maybe they ought to be getting us
more
a little.
interested.
Hopefully, they've been doing a little intel for us out there and sending it in. You know,
maybe we're piped in at 5:11 in the morning to the USC offices before they leave for Lincoln.
By the way,
Lincoln.
If the USC,
Lincoln Riley.
This is now here for once. The USC cheerleaders are going to be glad that they're wearing sweaters, right? On the sideline. I always wonder they're wearing them at those 90-degree games.
Yes.
And like a sweat. It's not sweater weather at all. For once, they're dressed appropriately. Good to see it. Good for them. It is time for the helmet stickers. We give them out every week after games. The rules are we each get 3 helmet stickers each game. There is definitely some level of subjectivity to give to them. Just a player that stood out to us for whatever reason that it might have been. And then we keep standings during the course of the year. The standings as they are right now, Emmett Johnson is the leader with 9. Ja'Cory Barney has 7. Isaiah Hunter has 6. Javen Wright has 6. Raiola has 5. Archie has 4. So that would be your top 6 right now. And then you got some ties and kind of some names that are a little surprising that are on there in that next group as well. So we're going to see how this is affected by the game this week. All right, John, your turn to start first this week. Who is getting your first helmet sticker based on the win against Northwestern?
Captain Obvious. Emmett Johnson, 124 yards.
3.
All right, there we go.
27 carries, 2 touchdowns, the game winner. A workman-like day. His long was only, I'm using air quotes, 15 yards, averaging 4.6 yards a carry. But of those 124 yards, net yards, over 80 of them were after contact. And that is a really, really high percentage. I think, I mean, there were a couple of runs where it looked like he was dead to rights in the backfield and spun out of it, squirted out of it, muscled his way out of it, even on the game-winning touchdown, drove the defender or defenders a couple extra yards to get to the goal line. So it's incredible what he continues to keep doing. And it seems like every week his importance is more amplified. We always talk about how teams need to be peaking at the right time. Well, Emmett is peaking at the right time. I mean, his trend line continues to move upward, and I don't think there was any coincidence. It comes in a week where he does get 27 carries. Nebraska is undefeated when he gets more than 20.
Yeah,
against the Power Four. Well, of course, they haven't lost to anyone.
I mean, I was yelling, and I mean, he got more carries than I realized after I looked at the stats, because I was in the stands in that game, and guess what I was doing? John, you would have been proud of me.
Yes.
I was yelling, run the ball. And not even just run the ball generally, run the ball to number 21. It's crazy. He got tons of runs, and I felt like there were a bunch of situations where I was frustrated they didn't run him in this game, which maybe they needed to keep his workload down a little bit, but it didn't look like that to me.
No.
It is
6 runs on the first drive alone.
Maybe. Okay. Yeah. So I think I saw those probably. And then I sort of extrapolated the need to do it, because it really, like, I'm not even joking. It felt like they didn't use him enough.
Right. They certainly didn't use him enough against Minnesota. I mean, that was very close.
I think of the play, for instance, when they went on 4th down and Dylan ended up fumbling it, right? That probably was the primary, most notable one for me.
Yeah.
But let me say this about Emmett. Like, I don't know exactly when it happened. Maybe it was the second half of Michigan State. Maybe it was the Maryland game. But he has gone into a completely different gear since that time, from very good running back to game-changing running back. Like game-changing, all-conference type, rushing, statistical rushing leader in the nation type. Just that transformation has been remarkable, and like nothing but credit to him, because he clearly in this offseason, and I kind of think it took a little while to show itself during the season, but he clearly in this offseason improved himself and his game. And credit to EJ Barthel too, right?
Sure.
There were some people at the end of last year like, they maybe are going to think about moving on from him. Boy, what he has done, to the extent he's been involved with what Emmett Johnson has done, it has been, like I said, remarkable. And then just to have that much of the weight right on him, on Emmett Johnson, for this offense, is just because of the pass rush and what's happened with it. But he's got plays where I can't believe he stays. Like I hate to do this, but man, the only thing close that we've seen in a while is what Amir Abdul was able to do in being difficult to tackle in that very specific part about it. So, I was really impressed with him. Anything else to add, Nate, on him?
No, I'm on board with all of what you said. I think he's got to be a huge part of the game plan again this week. I think feeding him got the offensive line engaged as well and put them in a better place. So run it, not just to get Emmett Johnson going, but also the offensive
and that
line.
helped. Yeah, I think that. And by the way, John, I heard you, and I agree with you. You talked about this on your show yesterday. The one odd thing about the whole Emmett Johnson experience right now is, seems like you can't give it to him enough. Seems like he's taken it to another level. He's looked so good, yet they have not had the success they want this year on short yardage must gain situations with him.
Right.
And they've kind of gone away from it too, from I think they've been spooked by it a little bit. And I kind of get it, like you even think of that Michigan game, right? We talked about forever that inside the 10, they had 2nd and 3, they tried the pass, and then they tried Emmett the second play.
Right.
And it went nowhere.
They also got stuffed on 4th down on the first drive against Maryland.
Right.
Where they were running the ball like crazy. And so,
it's like,
there's a little bit of that.
Those are the plays that, for whatever reason, are not clicking with him.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is that, you get into those must gain, 4th and 1, 4th and 2 plays, and everyone tends to bunch up. I would prefer to see it, and I'm saying this generally, not just for Nebraska, but generally in football. just go into your regular offense, right?
Yeah.
If you're used to spreading the field, spread the field, you evacuate people from the box and run the play.
Yeah.
Clear your mind of it's 4th and 1 and think of it as if it is 2nd and 6. And this play is designed to get 4 yards.
Right.
And run that,
Listen,
and I
listen
think
to John being shotgun on short yardage guy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I don't even,
Wow.
and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to,
What?
but it makes more. It
Gary
makes
Pinkel over there. What do we got happening
It
here?
makes more sense to do shotgun on 4th and 1 if you run a normal shotgun offense, right? But if you're going to bunch everybody up and still run out of shotgun, I don't know if that necessarily helps.
It's just odd how little success they have with that when they've had it with so many other situations. With
I believe that I've said this all year that the most indispensable players have been Dylan 1A, Emmett 1B. I think I included a few weeks ago, Ja'Cory is 1C. I'm willing to argue that Emmett is 1A.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
When you look at wins above replacement, you look at what's behind him on the depth chart and just his overall value to this team. This offense, yes, would it look dramatically different without Dylan? Of course. That's obvious, but Emmett's importance has only grown.
Right.
And I fear, I mean, you just feel it, when he's not on the field, you're like, it's almost like back in the day when, those third string wingbacks would come into the game and you knew Frank was going to, run the football.
I can give you some names on
sure,
those.
I know. I figured you would.
Ben Cornelson, Troy Hassebrook.
Right.
They're on the field.
They're
This
on
is a
the
running
field.
play.
This is a running play. When Emmett is not on the field, it feels like this is a passing play.
By the way, Emmett Johnson, 837 yards this year, so on track to be a 1,000-yard rusher.
Yep.
Right now, that puts him only about 200 yards behind being the national leader right now in 40 fewer carries than the national leader had. Cam Cook from Jacksonville State, who I think has already had his game this week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think they played last night.
Well. He's also second in yards in the Big Ten, trailing Justice Haynes now by 20 yards. So when I say all Big Ten caliber, it's all Big Ten caliber, right? It's flirting with all American caliber.
And this is a program that has had a struggle getting
So
especially
long.
offensive players on the first
How
team.
many years has Nebraska's offensive struggle been tied to not having a consistent go-to running back?
I know about a decade.
I know there was so much concern about the depth, and of course he gets hurt. There's concern with the depth, but to me, I kept saying, look, I've been frustrated that they've used so much depth in past years that they haven't. I didn't think they gave him enough opportunities last year, if I'm being honest.
Sure.
So they didn't commit to him, and it's Rule said this week, or it might have been Rule, it might have been Dana, that Emmett Johnson gets better as the game goes on. So whether it's him building rhythm in the game, whether it's just him getting a feel, getting loosened up, whatever it might be, the more he runs, the better he'll be. And again, USC's not great against the run, so feed him.
Yeah, 5.7 is his average. Like, comparing his attempts to his average, other than that Cam Cook guy from Jacksonville State, there's nobody that looks like that. Like, if there's some kind of a fusion, I don't know if there's some kind of a metric between attempts and average, he would be up there at the top of the entire country right now. All right, that's a long time on Emmett Johnson, but he deserved it today. Second helmet sticker, John.
Let's go with Isaiah Hunter. Isaiah Hunter, leading receiver on Saturday, 7 targets, 6 catches, 71 yards. And I thought live when I saw the official's hands go up, I said, no.
Me too.
He was in the air. It was a nice catch, but no.
Me too.
And then thank you, someone's old Michelin's, the rubber pellets. I mean, that's for receivers. It may not be as good as grass in terms of how it feels on your joints, but the new age artificial surfaces have been excellent for toe drag swag because you can see the rubber come up, and it's like even Big Ten replay officials can get those calls right. That was some impressive toe drag swag from Isaiah
Toe
Hunter.
drag swag.
Oh,
Wow.
That's the first thing I said in the press box,
That's
sitting next to Gary
impressive.
Sharp. I said, man, that's some toe drag
Trademark
swag.
that. Get him.
I think someone on
get him some
NFL
NIL.
Network has used that
Okay.
or something. I don't know.
Listen,
I've heard it
it's
somewhere. I wish I could claim originality.
When I got home and watched a replay of that, I was more impressed with it than I was when I was in the stadium.
Right, same here.
Yeah, like
Same
just
here because
all the parts of it, right?
Yes. I mean, to be able to get that foot down, and yeah, in the NFL it wouldn't be a catch, but you're not playing in the NFL right now, so it was beautiful. It was, and the ball, it might have been a smidge overthrown because he was open, but also as a quarterback, you're trying to put the ball in the spot where your receiver, there's only two things that can happen. Either your receiver catches it or it falls incomplete. And Dylan put it, where he knew his receiver could go get it. And then the feet did the rest.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not the first time that he's shown, I guess, what you would call incredible body control.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to his touchdown against Cincinnati. That was the first time I really, learned who he was as a player.
Because nobody talked about him.
Nobody talked about him.
It was always about Dane Key. It was like, wait a minute, didn't they get another transfer? Oh yeah, that
he made
guy.
multiple plays. That is a real specific talent that he's got. Is his ability to. Again, body control is the best. You see NFL players do it a lot, kind of contort themselves to not only be in position to catch the ball, keep their feet where they need to be, get their hands where they need to be. He is really good at it. That was a great pickup in the transfer portal, and
he's only a sophomore.
And that's incredible. I keep forgetting that. So there you go. Nate, who's your second?
So my second, I'm going to go defense. I'm going to go Donovan Jones. He's really had a lot called on him this year as far as having to play more cornerback with Malcolm Hartzog out and the shifting that's gone on in the defensive backfield. But 7 tackles plus a pick, important part of the defensive backfield. And that's going to be my second.
All right. John, close yours out. What is your third?
Well, let's see. I was going to, you know what? I'm going to go back-to-back weeks. Sierra Wright had 4 tackles this week.
That's about as many as he had the rest of the year. Yeah.
But Northwestern tried to test him a couple of times. And guess what? Didn't happen both times.
You're right.
And, I said, last week that Sierra Wright is likely going to be an all-conference caliber performer with no discernible statistics whatsoever because people just don't throw to him. I'll give Northwestern credit. They didn't ignore him, but then they were reminded why they should have ignored him. Good pass breakup, another excellent cover grade by Pro Football Focus, second best on the team that week, one of the best tackling grades of the week. I think he is going to factor in huge tomorrow.
Oh, yes.
You almost sold. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He did last year against them.
Yes, he did. And, of course, he's got a little extra motivation for this game, even if he claims he didn't know that USC was on the schedule.
Did he say that?
Wink, wink. Yes, he
he's
did.
an actor.
He's an actor. Yes,
The
that's true.
actor?
The actor. He's LeBron's kid,
That's right.
No, I don't have. You almost convinced me that I should have put Sierra on there. But the breakup you referenced, his ability on that play to break it up without making it unbelievably clear that he was not interfering,
Correct.
Yet to also be incredibly disruptive,
Correct.
I was so glad he had that play.
Right.
Just because, again, as we've talked
it's just
about,
nice to see him do
it's
something.
nice to see him do something.
Yeah.
Like do something.
Not that he hasn't been doing
Let me
something.
rephrase that. To do something when the ball is near him.
Yes.
When they do something where he gets a chance to be looked at. So, shout out to him. So I almost, want to give him. But, I think as hard as I have been on the offensive line during this year, I would be remiss if I didn't give them their due.
Ooh.
And the play calling its due too. When
My draft picks we got a helmet.
If you
sticker.
would've-
at the table.
We got a helmet.
If you would
sticker.
have told me that they were going to go from what happened in Minnesota to one single sack that was frankly fluky and
It was a devastating
for
sack
Teddy Prohaska
because it ended
Yes.
Teddy's season.
God, I feel terrible. Got a great. I like Teddy. I like his family. I feel I hate that for him. And so he's included in this. But yes, I'm giving Uncle Don's boys, not only because of the sacks, but as we talked about, Emmett Johnson had some holes, and then was able to extrapolate on that. And so they bounced back, man. That was some resiliency for them. Was it perfect? No. Will they be perfect going forward? I don't know. They still need to make sure and keep sacks in. Yes, but listen, the credit where credit is due. So Uncle Don's boys,
and something worth watching too. This was the first game this year where Elijah Pritchett played extended minutes, and he wasn't a talking point at some degree, whether a large one, a medium one, or a small one after the game, which is exactly what you want. You don't. I mean, unless you have an amazing pancake block or something that just can't be ignored. But he played a solid, smart game. He didn't have any of those crippling penalties or any of those obvious breakdowns that we've seen in other games. So let's see, because now you've got good edge rushers from USC. You got good edge rushers coming from Penn State. You have Iowa's defense, their front four coming up. But let's see if maybe last week and maybe the extra half off that he got against Minnesota has helped him turn a proverbial corner.
Yeah, I thought rewatching the game, I thought he did really well. And then special shout out too, because I think Turner Corcoran. By the way, I'm kind of bummed because I believe they have been setting up a big man touchdown with Turner Corcoran all year, because if people's noticed in the Michigan State game and then in this game, he wore number 89. He's been playing tight end.
He's been doing.
They want him to be an eligible receiver. I guarantee there's a play in the playbook for him to score a touchdown, and I don't think they're going to be able to do it now because he's going to have to play tackle. I think he'll probably, when Gatula comes back, maybe we'll see. I know Gatula's been hurt as well. I kind of want that for him. So I hope that's
we all want a big man.
They'll probably
touchdown.
Figure it out how to do it in a bowl game.
We all want a big man touchdown and then a Sue spike to follow.
There you go. All right. Final helmet sticker, Nate.
You went with Uncle Don's boys. I'm going with Uncle Don's nephew, Dylan Ryle.
Who's that? Oh, okay.
Yeah. You really got to go down the depth chart to find him. Look, and not that he was a mad bomber or he was perfect in the game, but we talked about how sacks, while primarily the responsibility of the offensive line, it's also on the quarterback to get the ball out. He did that. And then, the game to the first 3 quarters was fairly pedestrian. That last drive, he was awesome. He turned it on. 5 for 7, marched him down the field, set him up for the go-ahead touchdown. And, Dylan has taken so much excrement from factions of this fan base that are ill-informed. He's done a nice job at quarterback this year. He's going through a little slump, but I feel like as they feed Emmett Johnson, they make him a bigger part of the offense, Raiola will come back around.
All right.
I almost went that way.
Yeah.
I almost went that way. Only if for anything else, the last drive.
Yeah.
Nebraska was 2 for 10 or whatever the number was on third down going into the last drive, the last meaningful drive, the scoring drive. And then to convert 3rd and 7, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 5, on a must-have drive and end with 6 points was really impressive. It's hard sometimes to balance the frustrating nature of this team to blow double-digit leads, with their ability to come up with a must-have drive. They've done it against Michigan State. They've done it against Maryland. Now they've done it against Northwestern. Will they need one this week? If they're going to win, I think the answer to that question is yes, but they have been able to do that. And if you don't have your quarterback working at full peak capacity, you likely aren't going to get those.
All right, so that leaves your standings. Emmett Johnson way ahead now at 12, and Isaiah Hunter second at 8. Ja'Cory Barney still at third with 7. Tie between Javen Wright and Dylan Raiola at 6. Archie at 4, and Sierra Wright joins the next group. Quentin Ives, Watson Trent, and Sierra Wright tied at 3.
CBS News estimates have declared Emmett Johnson the winner of the Electoral College.
We'll see. Hey, stop the steal. All right, 7:32. Take a break. Your morning drive is next on KLI.
When you're thinking Huskers,
Got it on the lead
ball.
Think 1499.3 KLIN. Five topics to get you going for game day. It's a special Friday Husker Tailgate edition of the Morning Drive, presented by Stonebridge Insurance and Wealth Management on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
It is time to count down the 5 things you're going to be talking about this Husker weekend, brought to you by Stonebridge Insurance and Wealth Management. So let's do just that, starting with
number 5.
All right, well, Matt Rule signed an extension. Guys, we've talked about this a lot at the beginning of the show, but as you look at the details of the deal itself, we didn't delve a ton into that. John, how well do you think they kind of thread the needle of keeping him here for the time being, which you want, or at least the athletic director wants, and a lot of people want, but also not creating just like various untenable situations down the road?
Well, a lot of that's going to depend on what they get in terms of NIL support, which was a big deal for Matt Rule when he first was talking about this situation 2 weeks ago. That's where the future is, right? It's now about how the kids are getting paid and how much they're getting paid, because it's a very competitive field. You know, we've mentioned a lot of players today in the last segment. A lot of those guys, like an Isaiah Hunter, we've talked about, holding on to people like Barney, holding on to people like Isaiah Hunter, more difficult.
Oh, yeah.
You have to not only keep the guys you want to keep, but then also replenish your roster and plug holes on your roster with, people from other teams. So the NIL component is going to be huge in all of this. I don't know if they're going to in the next, we'll say 3 years, because I think that right now is your window, your reasonable window of, having Matt Rule. I know his contract goes longer, but you really look at the next 3 years, I don't think they're going to be able to get to that $40 million roster area that he was hoping for that, just only a small handful of teams have. But I think if you push closer to it and then do a better job of identifying what it is you need and working within the constraints of a budget, you can be one of those programs who are at the top end of the next tier, right? I think Nebraska, they're in the next tier of schools when it comes to NIL funding. You got the elite class, the Ohio States and the Alabamas and the sorts who have the big money. I think Nebraska, if they budget it right, if they work a little harder at getting some more of that, can be at the top of that next tier. And that's honestly all you need to be a playoff team, right? That's the goal right now, is to be a playoff team. The goals in college sports have now changed. Do you want to win your conference? Of course you do. It would be nice. But you don't have to win your conference to achieve or attain certain postseason benchmarks. The college football playoff is makeable. It is makeable.
Yes.
I don't know if it's going to happen this year. It would take winning out, obviously, to do it. But it is winnable in the next 3 years. Or not win, but attainable. That goal is attainable.
Qualifying.
Yes. The goal of qualifying is there in the next 3 years. And it's going to require smart spending in NIL to get it there.
Yeah, I think Nebraska's going to have to do a lot right to be a playoff team, but everybody's got to do a lot right. It's like you said, there's Ohio State, there's Georgia, but even they have to do a lot right to get into the playoffs. Alabama needed to do a lot right to come back this year, and they're still not a slam dunk. So I think Nebraska's well positioned. I thought how this contract was set up was really pretty shrewd. We're not going to give you any more base money, but your base goes up fairly substantially if you make the college football playoff, which I think is everybody's goal, and I think it's a realistic goal for this program in that 3-year window John's talking about. And now Nebraska has some assurance that they've got their guy moving forward.
How much did Nebraska go? Maybe this already mentioned, and I just can't remember. How much does the buyout go up if Nebraska would decide to move on from Matt Rule?
It went up quite a bit.
Yeah, I think Mitch Sherman was saying something in the neighborhood of it was 40. It's around 75. Okay. But that's if he got fired this year, right?
Which he won't.
Because it decreases.
But, to me, from Matt Rule's side, that's the biggest part of the contract for him.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, the years don't matter if you get fired, right? The buyout matters if you get fired. There's not going to be, it's not like you have specific performance that's required under a conference, to use a legal term on this, right?
Right.
Like, that was what Matt Rule got, is if we don't want you, and of course, you mentioned the playoff bonuses, but it's $1 million a year, right?
Right.
And it can be stackable. Hey, if they go, nobody's going to be sad about that. If they start going to back to back playoffs and they got to pay $1 million, $2 million, $3 million,
and more money will come in.
Yeah, and more money will come in.
And more money will come in.
That, it really was a fairly simple. It was more simple than I think what I expected in terms of what this was, and I. Credit Troy Dannon, I think, for that. I hope they don't have to do that. That if they do get to the point where they would have to make a change. But again, I'm telling you, if you're calling for a change at any point next year, it ain't happening. Or this year, it's obviously. But I'm just warning folks. Like, maybe they all know that, but people tend to do that, right? They have short memories.
Yeah, they're set up well. That as long as things keep progressing, they'll be on the right track and they'll be able, things will continue. But nobody plans on things going sideways either.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. That is, that's our thought here on the contract that Matt, one other thing to add, it is, you guys talked about the playoff thing too. Like it really does crystallize that as a goal for this program, doesn't it? As opposed to a conference championship or a 9-win season or a bowl game, right? Like that is you have made that the very clear, and we're still so young into the expanded playoff, right? It's hard to even think that way,
exactly,
to be honest. But here's a crazy thing, though, man. You got that. If you had gotten that Minnesota game, things might be getting really interesting right now
You'd
going
be in the
into
mix.
this game. Man, it is frustrating to think back on that loss.
Yeah, if you win the Minnesota game, you've got a game to spare. Because Nebraska right now,
But-
they're a team that if they go 10-2, will be in the
But
conversation.
this game tonight is to kind of put yourself in a bit of a driver's seat, not the driver's seat for the entirety of the playoff, but to a point where you're probably favored in every game going forward.
Correct.
At that point. And
Right.
if you win out, you're in.
Correct.
Moving on.
Number 4.
All right, let's talk about what's happening on the field. The matchup du jour of this game seems to be, and was our fantasy Husker subject, USC passing attack against the top-rated Nebraska pass defense. Now, what's fascinating to me about this pass defense and their stats that have been gaudily low is that they've accrued them with relatively little success in the pass rush. Guys, do they need to fire up that pass rush significantly to keep this going against a team like USC? And if so, where does that come from exactly?
Well, it's going to have to come from extra pressure because getting there with 4 just hasn't been there. The problem is USC is the best havoc prevention team in college football.
Oh,
They're
boy.
number 1 in havoc prevention. Now, havoc isn't just tackles for loss. It's also interceptions, pass breakups, forced fumbles, but they're really, really good at it. So John Butler will have to get creative. Things that we saw, though, on the last drive last week are some signs for hope. They made the conscious decision that they were going to go after the quarterback on the final 2 plays, and it ended up working. The last throw, I know there might have been a holding penalty, not that anyone gives a dang after all the screwball calls that happened earlier, but the throw was a little bit rushed because Nebraska brought some exotic blitzes. It's going to take something like that to do it because USC has been excellent at preventing sacks. I think they've only allowed 6 sacks all season. Think about that. That's less than 1 per game.
Yeah.
While Nebraska's been allowing upwards of 4 per game. So it's hard to get there. Also, it's hard to get there because Maava is really good with heat in his face. Why? If you go back and watch the Illinois game, the game they lost, there's a lot of times where, he's got a defender right in his face, but he is playing with such confidence right now that, he's going to stand in there. He's going to take the blow, but he's going to deliver the ball. And then his receivers on the back end, who are really, really good, are there to make the catch. This is easily, and there's not even a close second. Sorry, Cincinnati, it's not you. But there's not even a close second when it comes to the talent in the passing game when you combine the quarterback, the receivers, the tight ends, and the coach. And this will be the ultimate test for Nebraska's secondary. That's going to require a little bit of help. The help is going to be trying to confuse Maava as much as possible, not knowing exactly where the rush is coming from.
Yeah, most of the rest of the schedule, Nebraska should be able to just man people up. Just put receivers, defensive backs on receivers, win that battle. This is the one time where they're going to have trouble winning that battle. So they're going to have to blitz. They're going to have to blitz a lot. And, as much as Matt Rule and the staff has called for the crowd to be crazy, that's part of it. Hey, the crowd's going nuts, so you can't shift your protection. So you've got a free shot at the quarterback. They're going to have to blitz, and they're going to have to get to Maava if they're going to win this game. I think it's that simple.
Yeah. Listen, figure out, and I say especially figure out how to free McCullough and Shavers to be, and you both talked about the blitzes, but like McCullough's a pass rusher, right? That's what he does. That's the best part about his game. And so you've got to figure out a way to get him. And credit to Northwestern's offensive line, by the way, especially that right tackle. He was taking on 2 guys a play. But you're right, John, on the last couple of drives, they got a little more aggressive with that. Like, I kind of say, hey, listen, your defensive backfield, let them beat your defensive backfield if they're going to. Nebraska hasn't given up big pass plays this year.
Yeah.
They just haven't. Like, what are you? What's
Now,
the concern exactly?
Now it has started to trend that way. I mean, they hadn't given up anything, and then Maryland got a couple.
If that becomes you can pull back if that starts to become an issue.
But yeah, you do have to lean into your strength.
There's not you're being overly conservative because you haven't been giving up the big pass plays yet. To some degree, you haven't even been giving up that. There's a few notable big run plays. They haven't even been giving up big run plays this year. In terms of quantity compared to other teams.
It will be interesting to see the balance in this game because USC is down their top 2 running backs. Now, it's been a really good running game, but, if Nebraska can mitigate some of the damage in the run game, that might help you a little bit more on the back end when it comes to throwing situations. So how the game is called, the balance between when do we get aggressive and when do we get a little more conservative, there is a delicate balance there because you can't go all one way or all the other because USC has too much talent and the offense is too good to not be able to decipher that. So it's like any good pitcher, when you throw your fastball, when you throw your splitter, when you throw your slider, when you throw your changeup. And this might be a game where you're going with your cutter more than you are your changeup, but you're still going to need that changeup.
And you might not have been using a lot of that stuff just because USC is such a different offense than they faced, right?
No, right. How much is Nebraska held back?
That's what I mean.
Bit.
Oh, sure. That's what I mean.
How much have they
held
just
back?
Haven't
had that kind of a matchup. And
correct.
They've thought, we don't need to throw the house at Minnesota or Northwestern.
You don't have to get exotic against those teams necessarily. Right. Now, some will say, well, you should have against Minnesota.
I think they should have.
But Butler admitted to it. We pulled back.
He said it.
We pulled back from our original game plan, not we pulled back from emptying our
because
playbook.
They were worried about one big run. Again.
Correct.
Quit worrying about the big play until they become a repeated, multiple-time problem. I feel like they got that in the back of their mind and they don't need to.
Right.
I think that Michigan big run, the Minnesota big run has done things to the head.
Psychological things, yes.
While they were not great plays, that's not the problem. The problem is you're not getting negative plays, right?
Nebraska had 0 tackles for loss last week. That's not happened under Matt Rule. 0 tackles for loss. That was a problem against Minnesota when they had that huge drive.
Yep. They got 3-4 yards every time they wanted it. All right, I got more to say on that, but we got to move on.
Number 3.
Hey guys, I think we already talked about this a bit during Helmet Sticker, so we can do it fairly quickly. But I think almost everyone is with Emmett Johnson with his performance last 3 weeks, up from very good to game changing for Nebraska. I guess the question still seems to be how to use him the right amount and in the right situations for it to optimally benefit the offense. Were they close to it last week? What does that look like for you exactly with kind of the Emmett Johnson 2.0?
They were where they needed to be. Nebraska's 3-0 when he gets 20 or more rushes. They're 1 and 2, sorry, when he doesn't get to 20 on carries. Yeah. That's just talking rushes. So yes, they need to 25 needs to be the new number. Not 20, but 25 needs to be that number of, here's the bar we need to bump to make this work. Because this is November. Rule said it earlier this week. We've trained for November. Well,
here we go.
Yeah,
feed him. I mean, it looks quite a bit like Northwestern, if anything, maybe a little more. And start to utilize plays off of that. What play action do you have off of Emmett Johnson runs? But Emmett Johnson running the ball should be the entree of your offense.
He is what I guarantee you when they're going to that USC film room and defensive planning rooms, he's what they're worried about.
Yep.
At the top of the list in the Nebraska offense.
And they're not great against the run either.
Yeah. I agree. Last week there were even multiple plays where after the fact I was like, I think they should have went to Emmett there.
Yeah.
Right. Despite 20 whatever carries that it was. It was still a lot, but I feel like if he can take more, I think you can give him more and involve him more, and I think it'll continue to open other things up. All right,
Number 2.
All right, guys. I don't know right now in Lincoln. If you want to know what 37 degrees feels like, go outside right now in the capital city because that's what it is, and there's not much wind. So like this is. If you're wondering about that, so for tonight, for trick-or-treating weather, if anybody's curious about that, when the sun goes down, it'll be about 50 Wind at about 11 miles an hour. That'll decrease throughout the course of the night. By the time 9 o'clock, 43 degrees. The wind will be down to 6 miles an hour, so a wind chill of 38. But Saturday night at the stadium, if you are wondering about that, kickoff at 6:30, and at 6:30, 45 degrees, but very low wind. The wind is going to be less of a factor Saturday night than it will be for trick-or-treating. So, I mean, to some degree, you can debate if this is cold.
Right.
At some point, you need to be a Nebraskan and be like, okay, that's you. I mean, I would expect some students with their shirts off easily.
Sure.
I mean, that wouldn't even be that impressive. Okay, so
Don't act like I'm impressed.
I might wear shorts. I don't know, but it's obviously enjoyable to insinuate the Californians can't take some relatively mild cold weather. Do you actually consider the weather a legit factor in this game?
I think you have to. They were practicing in 93-degree weather. We talked to the voice of the Trojans, Pete Arbogast, yesterday. He said, yeah, it's 93 here right now. So, yeah, it is going to be a shock to the system. I think, if USC's got any kind of buttoned-up organization, they're going to make sure that when they get here today or tonight that they get guys outside and that, tomorrow they're probably out on the field a little bit longer. In pregame warmups just to get acclimated. Sure, it'll get cooler as the sun goes down. But once you've been out in it for a little bit, your body will adjust. Also, people forget Nebraska's got Southerners on their team too. So they've adjusted, right? I would feel better if there was some wind. If there was some wind accompanied with it, then it's a whole new ball game. Because as we all know, it don't matter if you're from here or not. Once that wind starts whipping in temperatures like that,
it's not going to be bad.
It isn't going to be bad. So I think it can have a factor. I think the more interesting factor is how USC is on the road. They've only won one game since joining the conference, 2 time zones away from home base, and that was earlier this year against Purdue. I think that and the atmosphere will have more of an impact than the weather will.
All right. And speaking of that,
number 1.
Black end zones, black branding on the website, black uniforms. I know what you two old, grumpy, stodgy old men have to say about this, but go ahead and say it, get it, say your piece.
What's the cheer?
I think it's Go Big Red.
Okay.
Yeah, I hate in general,
Go Big Scarlet
sort of the cheapening of your branding. Like, hey, we need to sell some shirts for our shoe company. This is every sports team. The Dumb City Connect uniforms, the 17 alt uniforms. Be who you are, do what you do. I'm tolerating it, but if Nebraska loses this game, never again.
Horrid. All right. I guess
black is, in the words of Bo Pelini, is black one of our colors.
Well, it is great. 1,000,000 times better than the surrender whites, and they've been wearing those since 1992.
Yeah, I don't like those either.
All right.
Well, the opposite of wrong isn't more wrong.
It's better. It's better. And if they win, I'm going to love them. 7:55 on KLIN.
You're thinking Huskers.
Swings and hammers this one. Deep left field. It is gone.
Think 1499.3 KLIN. Tailgate.
Snap, fade route, back run to the end zone. Touchdown, Huskers! Isaiah Hunter for the Husker touchdown.
Who do you think you're fooling? Nobody's thinking about their job the day before a Husker game.
Backpedals the throw, blitz picked up. Harris went out deep right sideline. 50-50 ball. It's picked off. The black shirts with the dagger. Malcolm Hartzog with a giant pick. Sails the night for the Big Red. Drifts back to throw, dumps it to an underneath crosser. Goody made the catch, got popped. Ball's loose, but they say incomplete.
This is the Friday Husker Tailgate with Jack Mitchell, Nate Rohr, John Bishop, and Kevin Suits on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN. Do you know your foe? Will it guarantee you'll get along? It's the Tailgate Opposition Disposition on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
It's the hour of the Friday Husker Tailgate on 1499.3 KLIN.
Would you stop that? Kevin just got out of the Ken Shimmick retirement party. He's got a ringing headache.
Sure.
Too many rum punches last night.
It's actually today.
Oh, it's
is it today? Okay.
The last day on air was yesterday.
Yeah.
Strategically, oh my goodness, this is so Ken. Just kind of being a one step ahead of everybody else. He only did the 6 o'clock news, not the 10 o'clock news. 6 was the farewell after a day of, the mayor came in and proclaimed yesterday Ken Shimmick Day, which was incredibly awesome. And afterwards, everybody he had a live studio audience for the last show.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's a ton of people in there. And that was actually kind of like elevated the whole environment.
Every time. Sell tickets every time.
It was
new
revenue.
revenue.
It was crazy. And it was also like heightened everybody's nervousness, I think, for the show. But then everybody wanted to take a picture afterwards, right?
Sure.
He had a dinner reservation.
Oops.
So smart. Like that had to be kind of brief. It was like, you want a picture, get in line, let's snap it. They got to go.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I was saying, wherever they were going to have dinner, I hope it was on the house.
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah,
It should be.
Will you, for the video watchers, can you show your TV or your
let's see this.
your T-shirt a little bit
There
better?
it is. So it's the logo that has been airing on 1011's, it's the bug in the
Little
corner.
score bug, yeah.
Yeah, it's got Ken's face. It's animated a little bit. It's so wonderful. And, our bug has said Ken 11 all week, where it has the temperature and the time. And there's going to be a few of us that wear these at the official Ken Shimmick retirement party tomorrow or later today.
Today. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So somehow some of us still have to work out.
Well, I was going to say,
how you gonna
work?
no kidding.
How you going to work?
We've got high school football playoffs tonight.
Nothing like a Friday night for the sports director.
Jimmy Smith runs it in
Before a huge game.
Oh, baby.
Why couldn't you have retired in like July,
Well, he's probably telling himself that too, given the golf courses are not as open as they were in July.
Was it? I don't know. Was it emotional for everybody last night? What was it? What was it like there?
No, it was awesome.
Yeah,
it was emotional. I'm sure a number of you folks saw his official goodbye, the final segment, the final forecast. He gripped it a little bit. Even at the very beginning, the first look where we had a little vignette that played before he came on, and you could tell like that kind of.
I can't imagine, man.
That got 44 years, guys.
I would be waterworks, man.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right, and I will be whenever it is if I get a chance to do that, man.
And then
holy cow!
At the end of the show, he had 3 minutes, and it was unscripted, as Ken Shimmick would, in the most Ken Shimmick way. He started, and then after about 5 words, he stopped. And, standing right next to him, which is a moment I will never forget. One of the highlights of my professional career was being just inches away from Ken Shimmick as he signed off for the final time after 44 years. I'm about to get emotional. It was incredible. It was powerful. It was wonderful TV. And I hope that I know Ken said thank you to the viewers. I hope he felt all the love and all the outpouring of thank yous. And, because that's what Ken has done for 44 years. He's been your neighbor. He's been your friend. He's been your watchdog. He's been a servant to Nebraska for 44 legendary years. And then afterwards, like because we saw Ken get emotional, I think everybody in the room felt some emotion. Some of us had to keep it together for those 3 minutes. And then honestly, I'll tell the story real quick. And I know we got to get to Husker football talk. After all the pictures were taken, and then he had the dinner reservation to get to, and his son and daughter-in-law were in the room, and we just all found out that they're pregnant. He's going to be a grandparent, which is, I mean, that was news to us. So now, like, you talk about the emotions that adds to it. And Deb was there as well, just as calm and as poised as always. And Deb is wonderful. So his family's there, his work family is there, his boss is there. I look forward to seeing so many 10-11 alumni at the event later today.
Oh yeah. Wow.
But, the crowd disperses, and it is this dark, dingy area, which is just off of our studio and right at the door to our newsroom. Ken's filing cabinet is there with his earpiece, his mints, all the different things that Ken Shimmick keeps. And he was starting to pack that up with Deb right there. And people are just walking by, and he's got, a rack of suit coats, and he's starting to pack that up in a very tender moment. But for me, that is not just a dingy area. That is where I have had countless conversations with Ken, because we're offset, we're out of studio, and I'm about to go back to my office. But I don't ever exit that studio quickly, because we will talk about his round of golf. We will talk about my son's baseball game, my daughter's senior night. That's where we talked about life. And that's where day after day, I learned about how to manage the rigors of working that shift, because those conversations happened at 11:30 at night, at midnight. And I remember that's where we had Ken Shimmick, or I got to be a part of the Ken Shimmick Nebraska basketball rant after they lost in 4 overtimes to North Carolina State. I forget the year, but he went ballistic.
That was a Trey McGowan scooter game. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Like that area, it's not even lit. There's like cobwebs in the corner on the floor.
Right.
But for amazing. He and I,
that was your corner.
That's our spot where we connected every night. And so just walking past that's where I felt an emptiness.
I get it, man.
But I also felt this feeling of wow, I got to talk to this legendary man.
Right.
Every night.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's beautiful. 10-11 has a very special place because I grew up in Fremont. We got 10-11, right? We watched a lot of 10-11. We watched it at least as much as the Omaha stations, probably more. I got to work with Kevin. I got to work with the folks at 10-11. I got to be on the 4 o'clock show many years ago with John and Taryn. And I can remember there occasionally Ken would be there, and we would get a chance to just sit in his office there, the weather set, and just talk about the different things, the Husker things. You have a special relationship with your audience, but when you're on 10-11, you have a special relationship with 2/3 of the state because of the coverage of the station and how important it is. We talk to Mitch Holtis every week. He grew up in northern Kansas. 10-11 was his only television station, right? So
I always wondered why they gave the forecast for there. Now I know.
It stretches far and wide. So yeah, we see a lot of people in our business get the opportunity to walk out and they just cover like one area, Ken Shimmick covered most of the darn state. And so to say that he had love, it came from as far away as Wood River and, Lexington as it did to Fremont, Columbus, and Smith Center, Kansas. I mean, it's everywhere. The man is an institution.
Yeah. And John, he cared about every community equally. That's what is people don't realize. There would be times he would start the forecast with, hey, there's a severe weather warning out by McCook.
Correct.
Which
most of it's we don't care, but he cared.
That might get to us by 3 a.m. Yeah, no, he's talking about it with urgency because Like
It
the people
matters.
in those communities needed to know.
From him.
Yes.
Yep.
In that voice. And he always delivered it with such poise. Man, I could tell so many stories. One of the ones, because here's two of them real quick, if I may.
Please.
One of them is, it would have been earlier this year. I had Kurt Tomasevich come in.
Yeah.
And Kurt Tomasevich is an Olympic gold medalist. He is a legend in his own right, what he's been able to accomplish, not only as a Nebraska football player, but then as an Olympian in the bobsled. Like, we look up to Kurt Tomasevich as like, wow, this is cool. We got Kurt Tomasevich to come in because he was about to be inducted into the U.S. Olympic Hall of Fame. That's why he visited the studio. So I could do the interview and tell the story. It was amazing. Kurt came into our studio that day to do the interview, and he had that feeling about being a stone's throw away from Ken Shimmick. Watching Kurt Tomasevich go over and shake Ken's hand and be like, man, I've been watching you for years. And Kurt had this, like, a little bit starstruck about, like, no, we're starstruck by Kurt. And that's how he felt. And plus they had some mutual relationships because he's from Columbus and Ken's from Columbus. And there were just some people that they mutually knew in just watching them interact. So that's story number one. Story number two is, we get a lot of, whether it's a daycare that comes in for a field trip or a school that brings a second grade class or a high school class. There are so many people who come through 10-11, and it doesn't matter who it is. And it doesn't matter how much work is on Ken Shimmick's plate. He would always stop, turn around, and pause everything. In the way that he would treat other people, regardless of where they're from, regardless their age, regardless their social or economic status, like, does not matter. Ken would make you feel like you were the most important person in the room. And I got to witness that time and time and time again. He would have fun with the kids. He would joke with the adults. And he was just an amazing, amazing guy.
It's so refreshing. And I never doubted that for a second, but it's so refreshing that the personality you see on the two-dimensional screen is the same behind the camera. And to just when the light is not on, his light is always on.
1,000,000%.
All the time.
It's so refreshing.
It's crazy.
And you know what's crazy?
There's not as many of those people as you think.
Because in 2025, people who are trying to get recognized through TikTok and Instagram and all social media, some of that, it's not authentic. And a lot of people that consume it can recognize it right away. You're looking for clicks and you're looking to build your brand. For Ken Shimmick, he doesn't care about his followers.
He doesn't know how to use a cell phone.
He does. Seriously, he
No,
doesn't.
he doesn't. I tried to text him. It's impossible.
It is so that is just him. And it's not for self-promotion. It's just the way that he conducts himself. And there's just so much love and care. And that's been representative, for the way that he's treated the viewers out in the community, the way that he's treated the viewers on his nightly forecasts, and the way that he's treated his colleagues. And to your point about, like, he has a cell phone, but he doesn't use it. That's the thing. Like, for me, usually when you have a colleague, like, either leave the workplace or retire or whatever, you're going to stay in touch, right? Because you can text, you can call. How am I going to keep in touch with Ken Shimmick?
You're going to have to find him on the golf course.
Here's this is a true story from, like, Kevin knows this, from like 2 weeks ago. Like, for multiple years, I thought he was ghosting me when I would text or email him, and he legitimately just doesn't look at those things.
No.
In fact, he had to. So he waited. I asked him to be a part of my walk of shame, and I sent it to the wrong email, and he never saw it. And somehow he found out about it. This is just last year when we raised money for Voices for goodness sake. What am I doing? Anyway, we raised the money, and Morning Hope. Goodness sakes. We raised money for Morning Hope, and there he is, just standing there at 70th Pioneer. I didn't know he was going to be there, waiting for me with a donation, by the way. And then he gives me and he has just the nice, oh my gosh. Carly from Morning Hope was there. She heard it. I need her to always be with me, because I need her to just remember with me what he said to me at that moment. I can't even remember it or repeat it or anything, but it was a compliment about my career and what we'd been doing. And, like, and I'm already like in a place then where I was physically exhausted. I'd walked 23 miles, and I was like, this is one of the coolest moments of my life. And then he gave me a piece of paper, and he was like, if you ever really need to get a hold of me, this is the email address I check. And then
You got the bat.
and then Kevin brought it to, I think I lost it on the walk. And then Kevin, like 2 weeks ago, you brought me again like a ripped off legal pad with that email address on it.
Yeah.
So that's, and then just go ahead.
And when he showed up while on your walk and he said whatever he said to you, you felt it, didn't you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like
It's
I wish.
that's what I'm trying to say.
It meant so much. And I knew it wasn't.
It comes from.
It wasn't kissing my, you know what,
It wasn't for show.
It wasn't for sure. There was nobody there. There was nobody there, and me and Carl, there's three of us. Like, I wish there was. I wish the cameras had been rolling. Like, I want to remember it, what he said. It was so thought out and heartfelt.
Yep.
Like,
there's nothing phony about Ken Shimmick. And here's my last one. Thank you for giving me the platform.
No,
to just
let's
kind of
do
share
this.
a little bit
This
about
is the
Ken.
day for this.
So it would have been Monday, Tuesday, one of the days early this past week. I popped into his the weather center. And I was just jokingly arriving over there. You know, it's not uncommon for me to do that, just to pop in and be like, what's up? How are you doing? You know, so I went over there and I was jokingly just going to say, just want to make sure you're still here, you know, because short timing, retiring. And that was just my playful way to say hello. And he looked at me and he's like, oh, I'm here. How was Sunday? And it was so this would have been like Tuesday. I had to think, what in the heck was Sunday? It was my son playing in his league championship football game. And he remembered that Sunday was a big day for me and my family and my son. And it had already like been so far removed from my brain.
Right.
I wasn't even aware what happened in my life on Sunday, but Ken knew. And I had to like stop him and even ask like, what was Sunday? He goes, your son's game. And so he wanted to know. And then like, this is very common for Ken and I. Like he knows like my son's baseball team starting lineup. I think he could almost recite 1 through 9, their batting order, because he would consistently hear the stories. He would want to know, like, how'd the game go? I know that was a big one. How'd your kid do? You know, did he catch it? Like, knows so much. And even after my daughter's senior night, which was a couple weeks ago, we were both putting on our ties and getting ready for the newscast. And, you know, that was the first thing he said to me. It's like, how's your day going? He's like, how was senior night? Wanted to know. Like this. I share these stories, you know, not to glaze Ken Shimmick, but so everybody that doesn't know him but feel like they know him truly understand the kind of man that Ken Shimmick is. Because legit. You know, you see it on screen and you think you know, but you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we wouldn't do this for everybody. I mean, that's the truth, man. Like, we wouldn't do this for everyone whatsoever. Like there's that line and there's that scene in Ted Lasso where he's playing darts and he's like, hey, be curious. And that's what Ken was about everyone around him.
Yeah.
Big and small and everything. I met him about 1.5 years after I took this job. I didn't know what I was doing. I was nervous. I didn't think anyone would like me. And, you know, I didn't even know if he knew who I was. And he was like, yeah, he's like, I stay up late. I sleep in, but Deb listens to you all the time. And I got a chance to hear, and like all of a sudden, before I even say anything to him, he's talking to me, this crappy radio guy, 1.5 years into his career. I'm, 30 years old, and he's going on about how much he likes this show that I did that wasn't good then, if I'm being totally honest. Like, it's true. He did, like, and now I consider him a friend. It's amazing. And last thing I'll say, and the other thing, even apart, like, the we're talking about the way he treated people, but here's what people don't know. I think here's what people don't, and I know you guys do. In terms of talent, in terms of his ability to have that role that he had when you had severe weather, be a meteorologist, do the actual work of being a meteorologist. Okay, number one. Number two, he used to, John, you know this. He and Kobe Mack used to MC the Liba event, and we were spotters at it for years. And I've emceed a lot of events. Ken Shimmick was unbelievable as being funny, as an entertainer, being quick, like genuinely
commanded the room.
You would have no idea he's a weather, like no idea. Commanded the room. Knew, like I am. Every time I do an MC event, I'm like, man, I'm not as good as he was. Not even close. Not even close. Like he was that level of good in that situation. Just like funny as crap,
and not all pre-scripted.
No, nothing.
It's almost like
Nothing.
a comedic sketch when you ask the audience, like,
It's-
tell me your story. Why are you here? And then like you can come up with something
Yeah.
like
it's like I don't know that I'm great at commanding a room live after being on the radio and not having a live room. He could immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately. It's not just because of his reputation. Like he
Right.
was so talented at that. Then he could still have the credibility though, right?
Yep.
He could still have that credibility on the air when he needed it to. You guys have done, I'm sure, the talk to what you got 30 seconds left, right?
But that's the thing about the crosstalk. Like he could drop in those zingers, off the cuff, but in quick time. Sometimes in order to like navigate a joke or whatever, you need it to breathe a little bit. No, he's got 5 seconds. He'll still like sneak that sucker in. And you're like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like his talent for him to be in Lincoln for 44 years. He could work in any television market in the United States of America.
Absolutely.
And I say that with 100% confidence.
Listen, and I said this about Greg Sharp when he passed too. And it's funny because these people are such great people. Greg was too. Ken was so good that we talk about how good of people that they are that we almost forget to talk about how freaking amazing they were at
How
their
good
jobs.
they are at their job.
Greg
yeah.
the same way, man. You guys know this too. And listen, I said this about Greg after he passed. Like I went through announcer after announcer, like announcer after announcer on the radio that people complained about and they had a gripe about. And then Greg showed up and he made everybody happy for years and years and years. Like the way that he did that and then still was the person that he was. That's exactly what I think of when with Ken. And I would compare both of those two, honestly, in that way too.
Mm-hmm.
So glad he's around and he's able to play some bad golf now with his wife.
There we
apparently.
go.
A lot of it.
Yeah. All right.
God
there
bless
you, go.
Ken. Thanks.
Right. And it'll be nice to have somebody get the forecast right now and then too.
That was another great line from last night. He said, I'm even proud of the 9 I got right. Is what one of the last lines he had.
That number went up over the last couple of days.
And that's the amazing thing is he wasn't that. We blame the weather people all the time for the weather, and he was able to roll with the punches. I mean, I never felt misled by Ken Shimmick. I knew if he told me it was going to be like this, it was going to be like
I thought it was cool that they named the station to according to the percentage of forecast that Ken got right.
10-11.
Well, at least not 6-7, All right, it's 8:30. We'll get back to the Huskers coming up next on KLIN.
All the games, none of the subscriptions. Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN. On Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIS.
Opposition disposition, the roundtable, which we kind of do usually, but I do want to get to John's clips because I always enjoy John's historic clips that he sends over, and we relate it either to the game or the opponent or whomever it is. And you're taking us back to 1997 here on this one. Tell us what you got this week, John.
Well, this is the 28th, or tomorrow will be the 28th anniversary of Tom Osborne's 250th victory, 69-7 over the Oklahoma Sooners, the greatest blowout victory ever over Oklahoma. As a child, I would dream of a day like this. And then when it happened, it was just kind of like, well, yeah, they should have, because, they just weren't that, they weren't that good. But it's kind of appropriate as we wrapped up our conversation about Ken Shimmick that the highlight player of the game was someone from 10-11 country, Joel Makovica.
Yes.
3 touchdowns on the day. Just we'll for the interest of time, you can play one of the long ones.
All right, here. Let's we'll do the
second down and a yard to go for the Huskers. They stack the backfield in the eye. Newcomb wide to the left, another wide out to the right side. Let's see what Scott Frost does. Hands it straight ahead to Makovica. 30, 25, 20, 10, 5. He's going to score!
Yep, he had 2 30-plus yard touchdown runs, a 5-yard run earlier in the game, and Nebraska rolls. They shoot off the fireworks. And
that was when they didn't always shoot off fireworks at games.
And Tom Osborne just kind of, stood there and reluctantly, he's like, I don't know what the big deal is.
Jason Peters stood by him.
Yeah. And, Bill Burns tried to make it a bigger moment, and Tom's just like, okay.
Peter hugged
nice
him, and
game.
like it always looked like when Jason hugged Osborne, it looked super awkward.
Yes. A, because Tom was taller, and B, he was just like, why are you touching me? I'm already on to the Missouri game. I bet deep down inside, Oz was like, well, if we wouldn't have spent so much time celebrating my win last week, we might have beaten Missouri, and didn't need overtime.
Yeah, that's true. Those fireworks. Did the fireworks make that happen? I don't know.
Yeah. So tomorrow will be the 28th anniversary of that moment.
And by the way, speaking of weather, Ken Shimmick with that would have been 1 week after the giant blizzard, right?
Yes.
Yep.
They're still digging out, or at least dealing with the aftermath.
Exactly.
It all melted at that point.
That was the one time I was like, because I remember leaving this building, and there was already 4 inches of snow on top of my truck, and that was the one time I was like, Shimmick!
Crazy.
You only said it was going to be a trace.
You didn't yell at the clouds. You yelled at the meteorologist.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the week, people were yelling at just everybody because they didn't have power.
Yeah.
That was a freak storm.
All right, Ken, let's talk about the week of Husker football now, which happened during a busy week anyway. Just first of all, your thoughts on the decision and the announcement yesterday that Matt Rule is extended in terms of years in his contract, although the base pay stays the same, the buyouts go up. What was your reaction to that whole thing yesterday?
I thought it was a little peculiar, the fact that you get an extension without increased money. However, there's a qualifier. You have to make the playoff. So there's payoff in making the playoff. But if somebody came to you and just said, hey, we want to extend you, what's the initial reaction?
My first response would be, well, that's fine, but you know that there's not going to be specific performance. You can still get rid of me. So if you get rid of me and you don't fulfill it, I want more money in a buyout. And that's what he got. I'm going to guess that's what his agent said.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it's very unique. The contract, the way it's written in the financial terms of it. I don't know that I really have a big takeaway about it. If nothing else, it basically says he's not leaving.
Right. But I mean, what Rule gets in the quid pro quo of that is if they don't fulfill the contract, like he wants to stay, he wants to be here, he wants to build this. If Nebraska decides not to, he gets a large sum of money, right? A larger sum of money.
And by the way, there was an addition that maybe a lot of people missed over, but the buyout, or his buyout, like if he wanted to leave,
he resigned,
would go down if Troy Dannon leaves. Yes. It would be eliminated if both Troy Dannon and President Gold both leave.
That's interesting.
Which is very interesting, given that those guys weren't the guys that hired him, and it shows how much connection there has been between administration and the coaching office in a relatively short period of time, less than 2 years.
And it's insanely
That's
wise by
fascinating.
Matt Rule's camp and making sure that that's in the written document. Because if you look at some of the instability administratively at
Yes.
Nebraska, things can change, as everybody has seen over the past 3 to 5 years.
Right.
And as people change at the really high levels, so does the temperature of everything else. So it's very, very smart on Matt Rule's side.
One of the first things he said when he got up on that podium and he got hired was he talked about the administrators he had worked at Temple and Baylor and talked about how important that was to him. He clearly was not blowing smoke if he wanted this in that contract.
Well,
right?
he got quote unquote burned one time already. He got lucky in that the two guys that replaced the ones that did hire him were ones that he agrees with, but he wants assurances that it won't happen. If it does happen again, that at least I have an easier out if I don't like the next guys.
But on this topic, who would his potential boss have been had he left for Penn State? One of his best friends.
Yeah. Correct.
Zach Kraft.
Correct.
So it does kind of like when you pause and think about it, you're like, that's kind of interesting. And you think about it from the Nebraska scope about President Gold and then Troy Dannon. Also think about like if he were to have left, what would that have looked like elsewhere? Well, at Penn State, it's the university president that I think he has pretty good respect for.
Mhm.
And also one of his right-hand guys.
Yeah.
One of his top friends.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And to just say, and I don't know if he would have had a shot or not. And that's interesting. I don't know if he would have eventually had a shot at the Penn State job. I don't know if down the road, after they went through a list or where he was on it, but still to turn that opportunity down if he did, right? If that actually happened, he really is buying in to this program, to this city, to this community in a way that we just haven't seen an outsider do since Bob Devaney.
Yeah, and I think that's one of my takeaways from Thursday's news is that, Matt Rule has always said, I love it here. My wife loves it here.
Yeah.
Our children love it here. This place is home. How sometimes you hear those things and it's somebody saying the right thing and making everybody around feel nice, warm, and fuzzy inside. However, Matt Rule, it's not just lip service now.
Right.
By signing that deal, that is proof that these aren't just words. There is feeling, and he truly believes it because he is secured as Nebraska's football coach through
Correct.
2032.
Yeah. Yep. 8:40 on LNK today with Jack and friends on the Friday Husker Tailgate. Let's talk about the game itself. Was that a Froggy thing? All right.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, people who are watching on the video might have actually seen that. All right. Hey, listen.
Is the Boxcar Willie song done yet?
Hey, listen. The second best morning show in the city. I respect those guys. They're the second best morning show in the city. They, and they've got to rely on some stunts, so those sorts of things. And so, I get it. That's why they're this. Listen, they're not the second best for nothing, guys. Let's just say that about them. In any case, let's talk about the game itself. USC. Kevin, how's Nebraska match up with USC in your opinion? And I think I'm especially fascinated with Nebraska's pass defense going up Maava and those receivers, right?
Yep. 530 yards per game. That's moving the football. This secondary is going to get tested because they've got some dudes on the outside. USC does. They've got, I would say, 2 legitimate NFL caliber wideouts.
Mm-hmm.
They have a wealth of talent in the backfield. I think they go 4 deep at running back, and I feel like 2 of the 4 could start at any school in the Big Ten, I believe. Maybe not Nebraska because Emmett Johnson's so good.
Yeah.
Huge Emmett Johnson fan. How does Nebraska, I don't, like you said, you're intrigued and fascinated by how the pass defense holds up. Yeah. They're going to get opportunities. Sierra Wright hasn't had a whole lot of opportunities because people don't throw at him. They're going to throw at him. Because
I'm excited for that.
USC has enough confidence in their pass game that they're not staying away from anybody. So Deshaun Singleton, Andrew Marshall, Sierra Wright, we're going to find out a lot on Saturday about what those guys truly are.
Donovan Jones and Rex Fisher.
Rex Guthrie.
Rex Fisher.
Wow.
That's going way back.
Wow.
Rex Guthrie. I mean,
I
those
used to
guys
call him Philip Bland. So
those guys are going to be under this real stress test because you know that within the USC offensive scheme, they're going to target those young players because they think they can really exploit them. But you're exactly right. they're not going to be afraid to throw it anywhere on the field, even if it's at Sierra Wright.
And USC throws to set up the run. It's very backwards.
Yeah.
A lot of teams run to set up the pass, but they do it in the opposite form. And Maeva's having a good year. He's tapered off a little bit as the season has worn on. And I remember watching during Nebraska's bye week, USC went to Illinois, and that's when Big Noon Kickoff was at Illinois. And I was pretty lukewarm on USC at the time. I feel like USC is still not a team that is playing at its ceiling, because its ceiling is insanely high. The Trojans lost that game to the Fighting Illini, one of just 2 losses on the year.
Yeah.
But both of their losses were to ranked opponents, Illinois and Notre Dame.
Yeah.
USC's coming off a bye. So there's a lot of elements about the way Nebraska matches up with USC that I feel a little bit uneasy regarding the Huskers' chances.
Interesting. Yeah, you talk about their schedule, though. Like, I was looking at their schedule. What's their second best win? Now, they beat Michigan at home. Nebraska had that chance. They didn't.
Yep.
They beat Michigan fairly significantly, but they don't really have a second best win. Like, there's not.
No, it's just more that, they wiped out, like Nebraska did, their 2 FBS or FCS teams.
Missouri State, yeah.
It's. I mean, I hate to say it, it's probably the win at Purdue.
Yeah. If
It's
you
not
have to
Michigan
take a
State.
second-
Michigan State's a. Yeah.
But they score a lot of points.
They do.
They
do
so
score a lot of
even
points.
if you want
It's
to
just-
compare the opponent and kind of scoff at the level of competition that they beat, what does it look like?
But I guess they could look at it from the same perspective.
They can.
What's
Absolutely.
Nebraska's second best
Right.
win?
Well, Cincinnati's Nebraska's best win, and they don't have a good second best win. Agree. It's Northwestern, although that still might be better than USC's. But my point is, like, listen, I mean, it's the whole Ivan Drago thing. At least against a resume, it's a man, not a machine, right? Like,
correct.
Yeah.
they haven't gone through and just blown out. They had their chance against Notre Dame. We saw it, right?
Yep.
We saw it. Again, the Michigan win was impressive, was good. Nebraska couldn't do it against Michigan, but a little perspective, though.
How much is USC being ranked this week just a byproduct of the brand? That's the one thing that
gotta
shocked
help.
me.
It is. It's
when
got to be
jumped back
because they
into the
were
top
off
25.
last week,
Yeah,
and they
and they
jumped
moved
back
in.
into
Just
the poll.
a bunch of people lost.
A
at
lot
the
of
bottom,
folks
too.
lost, and the brand, and they have looked, because if you look at some of the analytics, their offensive analytics are off the chart. It's really good, and so you might get a few voters who kind of see that and are influenced. Oh yeah, those guys are pretty good, and so by default, they probably get a little bit of extra love.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's probably the case too. But by the way, complete aside, I don't buy this thing where people are like, you can't do a AP poll because it changes how you rank teams. Like, I understand the argument behind it, but the thing is, even if the AP doesn't come out with a poll, someone else does. Everyone has
got one.
Everyone has a running poll in their head.
Sure.
Getting rid of one poll does
Yeah.
not. The issue is exactly what you just referred to. It's brands, right? It's that the brands will always have, some. I mean, Nebraska probably benefits it.
Yes.
Benefits
Oh,
from
it
it to some
absolutely
degree.
does.
You
It
know, they were
absolutely
ranked
does.
a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Until we all play similar schedules against vaguely similar teams, we're not going to have a definitive 1 to 25.
Luckily, it just
standard.
doesn't matter,
Yeah.
right? Who cares?
Yeah,
about
there's
the
a playoff
ratings?
now, and they have a committee to
That's-
select
Indeed.
that.
My daughter always talks to me about the volleyball ratings and how Texas is getting votes, and she gets mad about that. And I'm like, why do you care? You're right. It just, they have a tournament. Who cares? It doesn't matter.
But that's why the polls exist.
People are so
Because they create
you were a
conversation like
voter.
this.
Exactly.
You were a voter in basketball, right?
I still am.
You're a voter in basketball. People care. Who cares? Like, people get mad. I mean, I'm sure you got fan mail, right?
The
Yeah.
preseason AP men's basketball poll, I and one other gentleman had Kentucky at 15. I'm not so sure.
Kentucky.
Good luck.
You better be careful. You're going to get a 1-star rating.
Already there. Like, as the poll
You got
came,
John Higgins.
as the poll came out, I had about 7 within the first hour. I had like 7 emails from Kentucky fans saying, "You don't know ball." Here we go. We're not even in season. They haven't even played an exhibition.
Who cares?
game.
I'm telling you, man, Kentucky online is a scary place
Oh,
to be.
I've learned the fan base is that you
So
got to be
bizarre.
As opposed to
real careful
Kentucky
with.
in real
Keep
life.
I mean, they jumped in. They found out that John Higgins, after he made a bad call, owned a roofing company, and guess whose Yelp rating went down
Yeah.
that week?
Wow.
Yep.
They organized a boycott from afar.
Yeah, after hearing from you and Amy, I don't want to be a pole vaulter. Holy cow!
Got to have some thick skin,
and especially for football because it's so hard.
And I'll never, Amy and I have talked about this. I will never do football because our Saturdays are so consumed with one team.
Right,
it's insanely difficult.
It honestly makes no sense for a beat reporter, basically,
Correct.
to be someone who rates.
Correct.
You know. It does. I mean, that's one thing you should rely on the national media for, right?
Yeah.
Or local media. Yeah,
or my neighbor who spends Saturday on his couch flipping.
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're probably a more qualified AP voter than anybody that's covering just one program.
Correct.
Right.
All right, let's take a break. It is time to get to the picks. And, everybody kind of staying in the lane that they've been in this week. I think we have some fun games, though. I'm really excited to see what you guys think about these. Picks are coming up. And what will Nebraska do against USC? We will tell you on that next on KLIN.
Hear the Huskers, home and away. Now streaming live on the KLIN app and at KLIN.com. Bragging rights means everything to these guys. Let the trash talk begin. It's time to call your shot in the Friday Husker Tailgate Pigskin Picks of the Week. Presented by Exchange Bank on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
Oh, man. Fun stuff off here today. All right.
Chippy.
Time for the picks, but first the standings. Last week I got 3. I'm still in first place. My Minnesota upset pick over Iowa. Yeesh. That didn't look good. I heard that score on the way back from the game. I was like, is that right? Holy cow. John, rough week. Got mitigated slightly. Mississippi State got the push.
I had that game won. This is like the third upset pick this year where I've had the game outright won, and then I lose it.
Suits for either 2 or 3 weeks in a row is the closest on the Nebraska score. He gets Nebraska, but the Colorado pick there.
Yikes.
Again, another yikes on an upset pick.
Don't you kind of miss the fact that we're not talking about Prime that much this year?
Yes.
No.
I mean, if they were losing, kind of, yeah.
No.
It could be fun.
Jack wants the Schadenfreude.
Yeah, this is the time we finally could be, and it would be great.
Yeah.
And then Nate, hey, Nate, probably your best week in a while, although it just didn't really gain you any ground, though. Gamecocks got a point for you there with South Carolina.
Yeah.
You at least, you're the one who got a full upset point there. So there you go. I got 33. John's got 29. Kevin's got 25. Nate's got 18. All right. This week, you're going to say, why did you put this on here? I don't know, because it's so weird. Washington State at Oregon State, the first of their 2 regular season games this year. Give me Washington State in this one on the road. We'll see what they get when they host it in the second round. I'll take Washington State. John?
Cougs.
Kevin?
It's on 10-11.
Oh, that's why I picked it.
6:30.
That's on 10-11. That's 10-11 at 6. Sounds great.
Are you
Sounds
doing a pregame show for it?
Sounds like a great.
Live from Corvallis, Mike Riley's childhood home.
Oh, see, you could do an interview.
Man, that'd be
See, I'll
good.
catch up with Mike Riley.
I'll take Wazoo.
Yeah, I'm with Wazoo on this one, too. Of course, former Husker assistant Trent Bray walked the plank at OSU as the head coach.
All right. Texas Tech at Kansas State. Who do you have on this one? I'm going to take – I thought it was going to get better for them. It did last week. I think it's going to keep going. I'll take Kansas State at home.
I'll go with Texas Tech, but the number is 7. I would take K-State if it was the number, but I'll take the Red Raiders.
Yeah.
I'll take Texas Tech. Quarterback's healthy again.
Yep.
I'm riding the Wabash Cannonball, K-State.
All right.
They've turned it around, by God.
All right. Next game, Vanderbilt at Texas. I kind of just want to see if John will keep picking Diego Pavia. I think Texas gets this one. I don't think it can go on forever. And I've always liked the Longhorns.
Arch Manning questionable. He was in concussion protocol earlier this week. Emotional game. Vandy's coming off a tough stretch.
Yep. That's what I'm thinking.
I'm going to go Texas.
Wow.
Take the Horns too.
Wow.
Diego Pavia
There it is.
Thank
gonna
you.
roll.
Thank you.
You took. I thought
can't
John.
Texas is distracted with Sarkisian rumors to the NFL.
All right.
I would do the Vandy Whistler whistle here, but I'm not capable.
Please don't.
Yeah, all right. And I think what maybe is the most fascinating, one of the most fascinating, I think College Game Day is here. Cincinnati at Utah. There, this is a primetime game, so unfortunately, if Husker fans are focusing on the Husker game, you won't be able to see it.
Well, it's late night.
Oh, it's late night.
It's 9:15.
so
Because
afterwards.
it's Mountain Time.
Yeah,
zone.
it's late night.
I don't know. I'm going to take Utah in this game. I'd love to see Cincy win it, but I'm going to take Utah. Utah's different at home.
Same.
I got you. I'm nodding in agreement.
All right.
What the heck? I need a point. Go Cincy.
Chasing, as Corey Ross used to say, chasing.
I'm chasing
points.
Let's go, Cats.
All right, upset of the week. I'm just going to double down. The line is actually 7.5 now. I'll take Kansas State because I think they're going to win outright. So give me the Wildcats.
Well, if we're
against
allowed
Texas
to do
Tech.
that,
yeah, you
the
can.
line in the Cincinnati game is +10.
Is it?
I'm taking
wow.
Bearcats +10.
Yeah, that's fine.
There
You
you
can
go.
double up if you want to.
I'm going to talk about the other SC, not USC, but South Carolina.
Got an 8 point last week.
South Carolina is going through just this grind of a schedule, and they've been close in most of these games. I think this week is maybe their 3rd or 4th consecutive ranked opponent. They're at Ole Miss. I'm taking the Gamecocks.
That one.
Ooh.
That
What's
one
the line?
tempted me.
12.5.
Okay.
Yeah, that one tempted me. I think the ship is sinking for Florida State. They're taking on Wake Forest. The Deacons have 10.5 points. Wake Forest is the team for me. Anybody remember those? Yes. Apparently not.
Yeah.
The college basketball
Yes.
commercials, yeah.
There you go. All right. So Wake Forest, man, Florida State. My, how things changed this season.
For both them
Florida
and
and
Alabama.
Alabama,
Just-
Yep.
All right, USC, Nebraska, Memorial Stadium right here on KLIN. Kickoff at 6:30, pregame at 2:30. Nebraska is 1-0 in games I picked them to lose, so let's keep it going. USC 27, Nebraska 24.
I can see an argument where Nebraska wins this game outright. I really can. I'm going to default to talent, however. I've had 31-21 in my head all week, so I'll stick with it, though the path is there to a victory. The cold weather, the atmosphere, which I think will be more, and just the fact that USC doesn't play that well on the road, especially when they have to travel 2 time zones. So even though my pick is USC and it is a 20 or a 10-point spread, I think it will be a backdoor cover. I just will go with talent here, but I do see a path to a Nebraska win. I'll go 31-21 Trojans.
Do you guys remember the Red Out Around the World?
Yes.
Yeah.
God.
So does the
10,
guy in the
right?
basement at the Cornhusker.
That had
Yes.
so much hype and oomph, and then the
Yeah.
game was just a nothing burger. Well, the blackout has feelings of Red Out Around the World, but I think it flips. I'm taking
there you
Nebraska
go.
in a special night in which the losing streak against ranked opponents gets completely obliterated. 32-30, Nebraska over USC.
All right, Kevin's been hot lately on these games.
You know what? I'm call it a homer pick, call it a heart pick. They feed Emmett Johnson constantly. They shorten up this game. 21-17, good guys.
All right, 2-2 on that one. Bonus pick, Kevin Suits says Nebraska volleyball lose a set tonight.
No.
Does Wisconsin get to 20 in a set tonight?
Yes.
Wow.
It'll be done in under an hour and 20 minutes.
Great. There you go.
Very efficient.
You can hear that on KLIN tonight. So I'll be on Drive Time Lincoln, second half Drive Time Lincoln with Bishop and Josh Peterson, Super Friends Roundtable, Little Sports Nightly, and then pregame for volleyball at 7, late night. And remember, guest color commentator for the volleyball broadcast tonight, John Baylor plus John Cook.
Good. Someone can translate.
Wow. Yes.
Someone can translate.
So there you go. Yeah. Listen, 8 o'clock tonight with John Baylor and John Cook. Hey, see you on Monday, or see you this afternoon on KLIN.
You're listening to